Chapter 780. Each of them held a sword in their hand and formed a sword array. A terrifying, murderous aura filled the air. These 9 swords were quite extraordinary. Under the control of the 9 people, they were able to resist and even kill a finger-profound realm expert. However, Li Changsheng sneered. Did Ji Lushui prepare this for me? In Li Changsheng's eyes, this sword array seemed to be targeted at him. As long as he used it in the Xinyuan school, he could use the earth veins and mountains here to exert more than 10 times the power. Ji Lushui, you always want to surpass me, but you never know my true strength. Li Changsheng shook his head and said in a clear voice, since you don't know, step back immediately. I am Li Changsheng, Ji Liushui's master and your grandmaster. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, the 9 disciples didn't stop. The one in the lead coldly said, Li Changsheng, we know you've come. Master once said this before he left, but so what if you're our grandmaster? We have been practicing this sword array for more than 10 years. Today, we will let you know that our master Ji Lushui is the real expert, and your grandmaster is not even as good as us. As his voice fell, under the command of the leading disciple, the 9 swords formed a long line in the sky, one after the other, slashing down towards Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng's eyes showed a bit of anger. He originally thought that these people didn't know his identity, so they attacked him. He didn't expect Ji Lushui to tell them everything, and they were the same as his master. At this moment, his eyes couldn't help but turn cold. Sure enough, no snowflake is innocent under the avalanche. These people are as hateful as Ji Lushui. Li Changsheng punched out in the face of the incoming sword light. Heaven and earth roared, and the power of the fist raged, and directly smashed the 9 swords. The 9 true disciples controlling the swords had blood in their mouths. In the distance, Sun Jingyi and the others were originally waiting for the 9 true disciples to take down Li Changsheng, but at this moment, their expressions changed. On the other hand, the 9 people who had been injured by Li Changsheng seemed to have expected this. Their expressions didn't change as they waved their hand again. The 9 flying swords that had been smashed down by Li Changsheng turned into 9 streaks of light and soared into the sky, fusing into a 1,000-meter long sword in the air. Under their control, it mightily slashed down. At the same time, the ground beneath his feet began to tremble. Streams of yuan qi rose up and fused into the giant sword, causing the giant sword to become stronger with every inch it advanced. Is this the demon-slaying sword left behind by the hierarch? Many people muttered to themselves, their faces filled with excitement. Li Changsheng's frown deepened. He was very sure that this sword formation, including the formation that operated the entire Xinyuan school, were all designed by Ji Lushui for himself. He called the combination of the 9 swords demon-slaying sword, which meant that he regarded himself as a demon. I didn't expect that I would become the demon in Ji Liushui's heart. Li Changsheng was in a trance for a moment. He suddenly understood why Ji Lushui had done so many unorthodox things after his failure. It turned out that the biggest demon in Ji Liushui's heart was Li Changsheng. He had only taught Ji Lushui spells and taught him cultivation. How could he become the demon in Ji Liushui's heart? This made Li Changsheng feel very sad. Seeing Li Changsheng standing there in a daze, the 9 disciples' eyes were filled with excitement. According to the instructions left by their master, as long as they could kill Li Changsheng, they would have completed their task. These people were very loyal to Ji Lushui. For so many years, they had been preparing to deal with Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng was not only the demon in Ji Liushui's heart, but also the demon in the hearts of these 9 people. The sword slashed down, as if it was going to reopen heaven and earth. Raging energy was everywhere. Even Yu Zhongtang, Ko Shaoqing, and the others were frightened. With such power, even a profound realm expert would be easily killed by it. Ji Liushui's backup plan was indeed terrifying. Seeing that the sword light was about to hit Li Changsheng raised his hand and pointed out. Boom! A sword light condensed into a silk thread and cut forward. The giant sword formed by the 9 swords was cut in half from the middle by the sword light. At the same time, Li Changsheng stepped on the ground and rose into the sky. He raised his hand and formed a huge handprint, pressing down on the sword formation formed by the 9 people. Boom! The sword formation was almost shattered in an instant. The 9 people were slapped into the ground by the huge palm. Dust filled the air, and the mountains and rivers shook. Li Changsheng stood in the sky, his clothes fluttering like a god. The disciples and elders of the Xianyuan sect looked at Li Changsheng in the sky with fear in their eyes. After a long time, 9 people crawled out from the ground. Their faces were covered in dust, their clothes were tattered, and blood was dripping from their mouths. In the end, Li Changsheng was still merciful and did not directly kill them. The 9 of you betrayed your master and ancestors. You deserve to die, but since you are the future of the Xianyuan sect, I will not kill you. Today, I will seal your cultivation. Once the demon in your heart is removed, the seal will be released. After Li Changsheng said that, he waved his sleeve and 9 rays of light fell into the 9 people's bodies. The 9 people's bodies trembled as they found that their cultivation had disappeared. They were just like ordinary people. I, Li Changsheng, am the founder of the Xianyuan sect. The traitor Ji Lushui changed the sect's doctrine and erased everything about me. From today onwards, I announce that the Xianyuan sect will be changed back to the Changsheng sect. If the disciples of the Xianyuan sect are willing to atone for their sins, I will let bygones be bygones. After Li Changsheng said that, the disciples of the Xianyuan sect were furious. In their eyes, Li Changsheng was talking nonsense and wanted to invade the Xianyuan sect. Seeing the hatred in their eyes, Li Changsheng couldn't help but clench his fists slowly. When the Changsheng sect was changed by Ji Lushui, it was said that it went through a bloodbath. Am I going to do the same today? The crazy killing intent raged from the sky like a tide. The wind and clouds in the sky changed as if winter had come in an instant. At this moment, Ko Xiaoqing hurriedly knelt on the ground and said, "Sect Master, please calm down. The disciples don't know about the past. I will tell them one by one." Ko Xiaoqing felt the killing intent from Li Changsheng and knew that once it reached its peak, there would be a bloodbath. Yu Jingtang also knelt down with fear. The stronger one was, the more one could feel the horror of the killing intent. In the end, even Sun Jingguang knelt down. They knelt not only for themselves, but also for the thousands of disciples of the Xianyuan sect. Looking at the people kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy, the killing intent that had almost reached its peak slowly faded away. In the end, whether it was the disciples of the Changsheng sect or the people of the Xianyuan sect, what did they do wrong? It was just a fight between him and Ji Lushui. All right, get up. I will give you 3 days to explain the history of the Xianyuan sect to them. Those who want to stay can stay. Those who don't can leave. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Ko Xiaoqing and the others breathed a sigh of relief. The 9 disciples looked at Li Changsheng deeply and didn't say anything. They turned around and left the valley. Chapter 781. Li Changsheng officially stayed as the sect master of the longevity school. Yu Jingtang, Ko Xiaoqing, and the others were responsible for explaining the relationship between the longevity school and the Xianyuan school to the disciples. In the end, nearly 2/3 of the disciples chose to leave the longevity school. After all, the moment they joined the longevity school, they regarded themselves as disciples of the Xianyuan school. Now that they suddenly changed their sect, and more importantly, even their sect master, Ji Lushui, was called a traitor, many of them couldn't accept this. Li Changsheng wasn't surprised by this. After all, these disciples had nothing to do with him except for the cultivation methods they practiced. The remaining 1/3 were mostly disciples who didn't have any power in the past. They used to live under the oppression of those disciples. Now that those disciples left, they felt like they were the masters of the longevity school. None of the finger-profound realm elders chose to leave. At their level, they were more open-minded than ordinary disciples. Moreover, they were all people who had been subdued by Ji Lushui. They weren't as loyal to Ji Lu Shui as those disciples of other sections. Li Changsheng lived in a villa specially prepared for the sect master. As the current sect master of the longevity school, Li Changsheng planned to officially hold the opening ceremony in 3 days. He wanted to completely destroy all traces of the Xianyuan school and erase the previous teachings of the Xianyuan school. He wanted to give the longevity school a new life. Sect master. At this moment, the sound of knocking came from the outside. Sun Jingguang respectfully walked in and saluted Li Changsheng. Sect master, I didn't know your identity before. I hope you don't mind if I offended you. Under Ko Xiaoqing's persuasion, Sun Jingguang had decided to be loyal to Li Changsheng. However, he was afraid that Li Changsheng would hate him for what he had done before. He felt uneasy and finally decided to come and test Li Changsheng's attitude. It doesn't matter. Why would I care about such a small matter? You used to be a grand elder of the Xianyuan school. You were loyal to the Xianyuan school. I admire your character. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Sun Jingguang breathed a sigh of relief. On the 3rd day, the opening ceremony was officially held. The disciples of the Xianyuan school, who had lost more than half, stood sparsely in a few rows. Because Li Changsheng had just taken over the Xianyuan school, he didn't know how the Xianyuan school used to socialize. He didn't invite anyone and only planned a simple ceremony. Unexpectedly, when the sect opening ceremony officially began, a disciple came in to report just as he sat down on the main seat. The sect leader of the nearby Heavenly Fire sect has brought several elders to visit. He was a guest. Li Changsheng immediately asked someone to invite them in. Led the school. The longevity school of the sect was sect, the longevity sect, and the longevity school, the longevity sect. Sect, the longevity sect is a sect's guest's master. Sect, and of the sect, of the leader, to the sect. Unexpectedly, the old man in the lead snorted coldly. I heard that Ji Lu Shui, the hierarch of the Xianyuan sword, went missing during his closed-door training, and most of the disciples left. Even the position of the hierarch was taken by someone else. Hierarch Ji and I are as close as brothers. Today, I'm here to uphold justice. You want to change the Xianyuan sect to the Changxing sect? You can't do that. The sect master's words were righteous. The disciples behind him unsheathed their swords. Li Changsheng couldn't help but look at Ko Xiaoqing next to him. Ko Xiaoqing said in a low voice, "The Heavenly Fire School and the Xianyuan School have always been at odds with each other. Now they're saying that Zhang Jingyi is here to uphold justice for Sect Master Ji. I think they must have heard some gossip and want to annex the Xianyuan School." Li Changxing understood Ko Xiaoqing's words. When friends came, there was liquor. When enemies came, there was steel. He didn't expect that someone would come to challenge him just as he was about to change the longevity sect. It was a good opportunity to show the other sects that even without Ji Lu Shui and most of the disciples, the longevity sect was still not something they could bully. Li Changxing winked at Ko Xiaoqing. Ko Xiaoqing took a step forward. "Niahong Pao, don't pretend to be righteous here. No matter what the Xianyuan school is called or who the sect master is, it has nothing to do with you. It's not your turn to uphold justice. Now get out of here, or don't blame me for being rude." When Ji Lu Shui was in seclusion, Ko Xiaoqing had been in charge of the Xianyuan school. But the sect master was not afraid at all. "Ko Xiaoqing, I don't like to pretend to be righteous. To tell you the truth, I'm here today to annex the Xianyuan school. Ji Lu Shui is not here, and the 9 true disciples are far away. You, Ko Xiaoqing, want to support a puppet to become the master of the Xianyuan school? Dream on." After he finished speaking, he took a step forward. Several elders stood in a row with him. There were 5 of them in the finger profound realm. Niahong Pao sneered and said, "What do you think, Ko Xiaoqing? If Ji Lu Shui was here in the past, or if his 9 disciples were here, I wouldn't dare to fight you head on. But now, as far as I know, Ji Lu Shui is most likely in closed-door cultivation until he dies, and his 9 disciples have already left the mountain. Your sect only has 3 finger profound realm elders. Do you think you can stop me?" Niahong Pao sneered. He thought he had the situation under control. With two more finger-profound realm elders, he had the advantage. An overwhelming advantage. But after hearing his words, Ko Xiaoqing didn't panic at all. Instead, he sneered and said, "Niahong Pao, you've forgotten about one person. That is my Changsheng School's new sect master, Mr. Li Changsheng." "Huh. The new sect master is just a puppet supported by you. He probably doesn't even have the cultivation of the Vajra realm. Don't use it to scare me. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old kid?" As he spoke, he raised the treasured sword in his hand and slashed at Ko Xiaoqing. Ko Xiaoqing's expression changed. He raised his hand to block, but before he could do anything, he saw Li Changsheng suddenly stand up from the chair. Then, just as the sword light approached, it disappeared without a trace. "What's going on?" Niahong Pao stared at Li Changsheng. He had a bad feeling in his heart. Li Changsheng didn't answer his question. Instead, his body turned into an afterimage and instantly arrived beside Niahong Pao. He raised his hand and grabbed Niahong Pao's neck, lifting him up from the ground. Niahong Pao continued to struggle, but he realized that his true essence had been shackled and he couldn't exert any strength. It was as if he had turned into a mortal without cultivation. He continued to struggle and felt suffocated. Finally, there was terror in his eyes. "Let go of our sect master." Several elders and disciples attacked Li Changsheng at the same time. In response, Li Changsheng only waved his sleeves. Four finger-profound realm elders and several disciples flew out at the same time, landing a few meters away. At this moment, Niahong Pao, whose cheeks were swollen red and his eyes were already bulging, felt that he was about to die. Li Changsheng suddenly released his hand. His body fell to the ground, and he kept gasping for breath. "Thank you, Sect Master Li, for not killing me." Niahong Pao still had lingering fear. Just as he opened his mouth, Li Changsheng had already raised his foot and stepped on his lower abdomen. Boom! Something seemed to have broken inside his body. Niahong Pao's face immediately revealed a look of despair. Li Changsheng actually shattered his dantian with a single kick. In other words, he had already become a real cripple. To a cultivator, this was even more unbearable than killing him. At the same time, Li Changsheng stomped his foot on the ground. Those elders and disciples who were sent flying by him just now were jolted up from the ground at the same time. Then, Li Changsheng repeatedly clapped his hands in front of him. Those who were hit by Li Changsheng's palm energy had their dantian shattered. A few seconds later, their bodies fell to the ground one by one. Everyone's eyes were filled with fear and despair. Throw these people down the mountain and tell the surrounding sects that this is the consequence of offending the longevity sect. After Li Changsheng finished speaking, the disciples of the sect immediately dragged out the people of the Heavenly Fire sect who were like dead dogs. On this day, Li Changsheng defeated 5-finger profound realm experts in a row. The newly established longevity sect became famous everywhere. Chapter 782. After dealing with the internal affairs of the Changsheng sect, Li Changsheng decided to leave. Originally, he planned to merge the Changsheng sect and the Verdant sect into one, but in the end, he canceled this idea. Ji Liushui's whereabouts were still unknown. If he came back one day and the Changsheng sect was his former subordinate, he would show some mercy, but the Verdant sect would suffer. After handing over the affairs of the Changsheng sect to Ko Xiaoqing, Li Changsheng left the Changsheng sect and set off for overseas. The overseas affairs involved the foundation of his cultivation, so they were the most important. Before Li Changsheng left, Mu came to him and begged him to give her a red scorching pill to save her brother. Although the red scorching pill was very precious, Li Changsheng still nodded and agreed to Mu request. However, he would not give it to her for free. The Mu family in Dianan wanted to be the force of the Changsheng sect in the secular world and help the Changsheng sect take care of its business. On the road of cultivation, wealth, companions, methods, and land were indispensable. Cultivators could not be free from worldly affairs, and the Mu family was much better at doing business than the Changsheng sect. After leaving the Changsheng sect, Li Changsheng went straight to the east. However, After walking for hundreds of miles, a strong wind suddenly blew in front of him. The sky was covered with dark clouds, as if a storm was about to come. Just as he was hesitating whether to stop and take shelter from the rain, he suddenly saw a dilapidated ancient temple in front of him. This ancient temple did not look small, so it must have been a famous place in the past. When Li Changsheng pushed open the gate of the courtyard, the storm was already pouring down. He hurried to hide in the main hall. As soon as he entered the main hall, he saw several women in white who were also taking shelter from the rain. Because the sky was gloomy, the palace was even darker. The women even made a bonfire at their feet. Seeing Li Changsheng barge in, everyone's gaze immediately fell on him. Li Changsheng was also a little curious. If it wasn't for his skill and courage, he would have been scared out of his wits if he suddenly saw these women in the ancient temple. After all, in those supernatural novels, the things one encountered in this kind of place were often unclean things. Li Changsheng's gaze swept over the few people present. These women were all very beautiful, especially the woman sitting on the seat. She could be said to be perfect. Her skin was like ice and jade, and her appearance was beautiful. However, her face was as cold as ice, giving people a feeling that strangers should not get close to her. She noticed that Li Changsheng was looking at her. She immediately glared at him. "What are you looking at? If you keep looking, I'll gouge your eyes out." As he spoke, a dagger flew out of his hand. It turned into a cold light and brushed past Li Changsheng's scalp before nailing itself to the wooden pillar behind him. The other party seemed to want to give Li Changsheng a show of strength, but she didn't expect that after showing this move, Li Changsheng still stood there without any expression on his face, which made her frown slightly. "Get the hell out of here after you're done with the rain. I'm here to settle some things." Who knew that after hearing her words, Li Changsheng's gaze would involuntarily look around. The other party was puzzled. "What are you looking for?" "I'm looking for a eunuch. You're a princess, but you don't even have a eunuch by your side. It's a little outrageous." The other party's eyes immediately revealed some anger. "It's the palace of the palace. I'm the palace master of the Jade Mirror Palace, not some princess." Hearing the other party's words, Li Changsheng shrugged his shoulders. "What does it have to do with me?" Immediately, the woman's eyes revealed some anger. She turned her head to the side and couldn't be bothered to argue with Li Changsheng. The rainstorm didn't last long. After about an hour, it completely stopped and the sky began to clear up. At this moment, the palace master of the Jade Mirror Palace suddenly stood up and revealed a sharp aura. Then, she said to Li Changsheng, "Kid, leave quickly, or you will die." Li Changsheng also felt a few auras approaching. However, before he could take a step, the broken wooden door of the hall was kicked to pieces and a group of people appeared at the door. The leader was a middle-aged man dressed in a black robe. As soon as he entered, a bloody aura rushed over. "Palace Master Fong Lan, aren't your Jade Mirror Palace all women? Why did you finally find a lover? Because you couldn't stand the loneliness. Clean your mouth." The woman's face was filled with anger. "Oh, you're angry? Fong Lan, you know my feelings. As long as you agree to marry me, we don't have to fight at all. We can be a loving family. Yang Hei who you wish. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? I, Fong Lan, would rather marry a pig than marry you." "Hee hee. Fong Lan, since you're so stubborn, don't blame me. I heard that your Jade Mirror Palace's cold moon palm can freeze people within 10 meters. Today, I've specially prepared a Dharma treasure for you." As soon as he finished speaking, a cover appeared in his hand. The cover emitted a fiery aura. This cover is called the Nine Fire Cover. It was refined based on the ancient divine artifact, the Nine Fire Divine Dragon Cover. It just so happens to restrain your Jade Mirror Palace's cultivation method. When the other party took out the Nine Fire Cover, Fong Lan's expression had become extremely ugly. "Fong Lan, in order to refine this Dharma treasure, I've almost used up all the sex resources. If I can't take you down, I'll suffer a great loss." Fong Lan's expression changed several times. Originally, she was not afraid of Yang Heihu. Yang Heihu's strength was only slightly higher than hers, so he could not do anything to her. However, Now that the other party had a Dharma treasure that could restrain her, it was completely different. All right, Yang Heihu, we'll see who's stronger and who's weaker. However, he's just someone who came here to take shelter from the rain. He's innocent. Let him go, and I'll accompany you to the end. Hee. Yang Heihu looked at Li Changsheng. There's no such thing as innocence in this world. Since he's encountered it, it's his bad luck. Then I'll send him on his way first, and then I'll slowly deal with you. As he spoke, he raised his palm and hit Li Changsheng. Yang Heihu, how can you kill the innocent? Fang Lan also took a step forward and stood in front of Li Changsheng. Bang! Seeing Fang Lan attack, Yang Heihu immediately took out the 9-fire cover in his hand. Fang Lan's palm imprinted on the 9-fire cover, and white smoke immediately rose. She let out a scream, and her body directly retreated a few steps. It could be seen that her jade-like fingers had been burned to a blackish-purple color in an instant. How is it, Fang Lan? Are you satisfied with the Dharma treasure I prepared for you? Yang Heihu smiled proudly. He had been spying on Fang Lan for a long time, but the cold moon palm of the Jade Mirror Palace was not to be trifled with. In the previous confrontation with Fang Lan, he had never gained the upper hand. Later, after continuous research, he finally found a way to restrain the cold moon palm. This time, he heard that Fang Lan was bringing her disciple to participate in a martial arts conference, so he impatiently chased after her. Fang Lan, you look cold on the outside, but you're very kind inside. It's just that you want to protect this kid, so I'll kill him in front of you. Yang Heihu grinned sinisterly. Fang Lan's eyes were dim. She knew that she couldn't even protect herself today, let alone have the ability to protect others. She looked at Li Changsheng apologetically. She had implicated him. She thought to herself, this is probably my life, and also this young man's life. Chapter 783. What an unexpected calamity. Li Changsheng sighed. He had only come here to hide from the rain, but he had encountered such a thing. Although the woman from the Jade Mirror Palace was beautiful, he had no intention of saving her. However, Yang Heihu just had to provoke him, and Fang Lan, the palace master of the Jade Mirror Palace, could be considered to be loyal. Was it so difficult to be a bystander? Li Changsheng stretched his limbs. This caused Yang Heihu to reveal a bit of surprise. This young man can still remain so calm at a time like this? Fang Lan's eyes were also filled with doubt. At this moment, Li Changsheng's abnormal behavior made her curious. Li Changsheng slowly rolled up his sleeves, took out a pitch-black wooden stick from his back, and waved it in the air a few times. Seeing the curious gazes of the people around him, he smiled and said, "Recently, I've been encountering some reckless fellows. Just now, I randomly picked up a stick in the temple. I'll call it the dog-beating stick. I just didn't expect this stick to be a very powerful magic weapon." Fang Lan was speechless when she heard Li Changsheng's words. This guy is about to die, but he's still in the mood to joke. She had seen the wooden stick when she came in. It was just a very ordinary stick. Yang Heihu sneered. Originally, when he saw Li Changsheng being so calm, he was still a little worried. But now, it seemed that the other party was holding a broken wooden stick in his hand and actually said it was a powerful magic weapon. Wasn't this nonsense and a bluff? Li Changsheng moved his wrist, then pointed his finger at Yang Heihu. I don't know if your 9-flame shield is strong enough. Looking at Li Changsheng's back, a strange feeling suddenly arose in Fang Lan's heart. In the next second, Li Changsheng had already raised the stick and struck in Yang Heihu's direction. The smile on Yang Heihu's face instantly froze, because he realized that the 9-flame shield in his hand seemed to be suppressed by an invisible force in an instant. He activated it several times, but there was no reaction. This was the first time such a strange phenomenon had happened, and it definitely had a lot to do with the young man in front of him. In the next second, the wooden stick in Li Changsheng's hand left an afterimage as it smashed into the 9-fire dome. Everyone in the hall couldn't help but stare in the direction where the wooden stick fell. Then, under everyone's incredulous gazes, a hole was smashed in the incomparably sturdy 9-flames barrier. Then, spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the 9-flames barrier, and palm-sized iron pieces fell to the ground. In the next moment, Li Changsheng swung the wooden stick again and smashed it on Yang Heihu's head. Just like that, the head was separated from the neck in front of everyone's eyes. The headless corpse fell heavily to the ground. Li Changsheng shook his head gently and said, "You go your way, and I go mine. But there are some people in the world who like to occupy other people's paths, leaving others with no way out. Then they deserve to die." The entire hall fell into absolute silence. Fong Lan's eyes widened as she looked at the ordinary figure, but there was a look of awe in her eyes. Li Changsheng walked out of the ancient temple step by step, holding the wooden stick in his hand and disappearing from the sight of Fong Lan and the others. He wasn't talking nonsense. The wooden stick was indeed a magic weapon, but even Li Changsheng didn't know how to use it. He could only use the simplest method to smash people. Fong Lan stared blankly at the departing figure, even forgetting to thank Li Changsheng for saving her life. The other disciples of the Jade Mirror Palace also stared blankly at the door. None of them took the ordinary-looking young man seriously, but they didn't expect him to be a super expert. In the hall, after Yang Heihu's subordinates reacted, they all knelt on the ground and begged for Fong Lan's forgiveness. Fong Lan pulled out the sword in her hand and wanted to slash this group of people, but on second thought, although they helped the tyrant, the culprit was already dead, so it was better to form a little more good karma. Today, if it wasn't for her kindness to let the young man leave first, the young man might not have been willing to make a move. "Palace Lord, how should we deal with these people?" A woman stepped forward and asked for instructions. "Let them go. We should set off." With that, Fong Lan quickly left the ancient temple with her subordinates of the Jade Mirror Palace. At this moment, Li Changsheng was constantly studying the wooden stick in his hand. What material is this thing made of? It's actually so sturdy. Li Changsheng tried to slash it with the heart-wishful sword, but it didn't leave a single mark. He knew that he had indeed picked up a treasure, but apart from its sturdiness, Li Changsheng couldn't use it no matter what he tried. In the end, he simply used it as a mountain staff in his hand. Li Changsheng held the mountain walking staff in his hand. From afar, he could see a yellow ox being besieged by several wolves. The jackals were very fierce, and a piece of flesh had been torn off the ox's leg, causing it to bleed continuously. When the jackals heard Li Changsheng's footsteps, they immediately turned around and bared their teeth at Li Changsheng, warning him not to come closer. Once again, the ox's hind leg was torn off by a jackal, and it was directly dragged to the ground. Li Changsheng could see the pleading in its eyes. This was just an ordinary yellow ox, and those jackals and wolves were just ordinary beasts. It was not wrong for wolves to hunt when they were hungry, but when he saw the ox's eyes, Li Changsheng couldn't help but soften. He strode toward the ox's position. When the alpha wolf saw that its warning didn't work, its eyes immediately showed anger. Then, 3 or 4 wolves formed a circle and surrounded Li Changsheng. Wolves were actually very timid animals, but hunger drove them to become cruel. Therefore, even if they were sure that Li Changsheng was alone, these wolves still didn't rush up directly and chose to help as a team. In this regard, Li Changsheng didn't stop at all and walked toward the ox's position. Finally, a wolf couldn't help but rush toward Li Changsheng from behind. Its ferocious and bloody mouth was aimed at Li Changsheng's neck. Li Changsheng didn't even turn his head. As if he had eyes on the back of his head, he turned around and smashed the pitch-black wooden stick. With a crunch sound, the jackal's head was directly smashed into pieces. This made the other jackals, who were ready to attack, all stop in their tracks. The alpha wolf stared at Li Changsheng with vigilance. At this moment, Li Changsheng had already walked to the ox's side. One of the jackals was still biting the ox's thigh, and half of the ox's leg was dyed red with blood. Li Changsheng raised the mountain walking stick. The jackal had already seen how powerful it was, so it loosened its bite and retreated. However, how could it be faster than Li Changsheng's speed? It was still hit in the head and died instantly. At this moment, the alpha wolf seemed to have realized that Li Changsheng was not to be trifled with. It raised its head and whimpered a few times, then slowly retreated with its subordinates. Li Changsheng saw that the ox was bleeding profusely after being bitten. Only then did he notice that there was a gash on its stomach. If it were under normal circumstances, even if the pack of wolves retreated, the ox wouldn't have survived. Li Changsheng saw gratitude and excitement in the ox's eyes. He took out a pill from his chinquin bag and applied it to the ox's wound. The shocking wound began to heal slowly. 10 minutes later, the ox was able to stand up with difficulty. Well, he could go home now. Li Changsheng stroked the ox's head. With a plop sound, the ox knelt down on the ground in front of Li Changsheng. Then it stood up and knelt down again. After kneeling 3 times, it finally stood up. However, it still didn't want to leave. It just rubbed its head against Li Changsheng's arm. Well, it's fate that brought us together. You can follow me for now. After Li Changsheng finished speaking, the ox seemed to understand. Its eyes were filled with joy. Chapter 784. On the mountain path, there was a figure riding a yellow ox. The man and the ox were moving forward leisurely. After walking for about 100 miles, Li Changsheng suddenly stopped. There was a surging river in front of him that blocked his path. After crossing the Minxing River, he would enter the ocean after a few hundred miles. Originally, this distance would be a matter of a blink of an eye for Li Changsheng. However, this old ox was weak and could not compare to a great monster like the white bear demon king. It could only move forward slowly. There were a few figures waiting by the river. Even from afar, one could feel the powerful qi and blood on their bodies. They were clearly not ordinary people. Li Changsheng's appearance immediately attracted the attention of these people. Since they were all cultivators, Li Changsheng did not plan to hide anything. Just as he was about to use his divine ability to cross the river, he suddenly felt the old ox beneath him tremble. Not far away, he saw a huge python as thick as a water bucket staring at the old ox with a pair of bright red eyes. This huge snake was a monster, and its cultivation was not bad. The old ox was just an ordinary animal. It was no wonder that it was afraid. The owner of the huge python was a man shrouded in a black robe. He had a gloomy aura on him. Sensing Li Changsheng's gaze on him, he did not care at all. Not only did he not stop his spotted python, he said in a gloomy voice, "So it's just an ordinary old ox. It just so happens that my python is a little hungry." Saying that, he patted the python's head. The python nodded spiritually. Its eyes immediately revealed a cruel and excited look. In the next second, it opened its bloody mouth and pounced in the direction of the yellow ox. The surrounding people all took the initiative to distance themselves from Li Changsheng. A few people let out a roar of laughter. Obviously, in their eyes, it was just an ordinary cattle. Eating was no big deal. Just as the huge python's mouth was about to bite the old ox was already trembling in fear. Li Changsheng patted the back of the ox, comforting the ox that was kneeling on the ground. Then, he punched the huge python's head. No one expected that this seemingly ordinary young man would dare to attack the huge python. The black-robed man's eyes were filled with amusement. This python was not to be trifled with. But in the next second, everyone's expression froze. With a boom, the mighty fist force rushed into the python's mouth, and then the head of the piebald python exploded into a cloud of blood mist, and then its entire body exploded one after another. Bang, bang, bang. Blood mist filled the air. The black-robed man's face instantly turned extremely ugly. He gripped the hilt of his sword and was about to attack Li Changsheng, but an old man beside him grabbed his arm and shook his head. Li Changsheng didn't pay any more attention to him, since the other party didn't make a move. He led Yellow Ox to the riverside, picked up a lotus leaf, and threw it into the water. Then, the lotus leaf instantly expanded to the size of a house. Li Changsheng led Yellow Ox and walked on it. Like a small boat, the man and the ox sailed forward and soon disappeared from everyone's sight. It's actually an expert. Many people were surprised to see this scene. Throwing a lotus leaf casually and turning it into a small boat was not something that ordinary people could do. The black-robed man who was stopped by the old man was still a little unconvinced. The piebald python was his pet beast that he had raised for a long time. How could he swallow his anger when it was killed just like that? At this moment, he suddenly understood that it was the old man who saved him. Based on Li Chongqing's display of martial arts, he was definitely no match for him. After crossing the river, Li Chongqing arrived at the other side of the river. The other side of the river was originally in the wilderness, but at this moment it was very lively. Many people had gathered, and each of them had an extraordinary temperament. Li Chongqing saw an acquaintance in the crowd. It was Princess Fanglan of the Jade Mirror Palace. Fanglan also saw Li Chongqing. She hurried up and saluted him with hands folded. Are you also here to participate in the martial arts conference? What is the martial arts conference? Li Chongqing shook his head and said, I just happened to pass by. This is a grand event held by the cultivation world in Dianan. It is held once every 3 years. In Dianan, all the martial arts sects and families will come to participate. Fanglan took Li Chongqing to her seat and sat down. At the same time, she looked up and down at the yellow ox next to Li Chongqing. She had seen Li Chongqing's strength, so she instinctively thought that the yellow ox next to Li Chongqing was not an ordinary breed. Unfortunately, after observing for a long time, she found nothing. She really could not see what was so special about this yellow ox. Seeing Li Chongqing coming, the disciples of the Jade Mirror Palace saluted Li Chongqing one after another. In the ancient temple, if it were not for Li Chongqing's help, their fate might have been very tragic. Many people turned their eyes to this side. Although Fanglan and the others of the Jade Mirror Palace were as beautiful as flowers, they had a frosty expression that kept people at arm's length. Since they appeared, several guys had tried to strike up a conversation with them, but in the end, they were all rejected. They did not expect that the new young man could be favored by the Jade Mirror Palace. The number of people continued to increase. Most of them were well-known figures in the cultivation world in Dianan. Unfortunately, Li Chongqing did not know any of them. Suddenly, he felt a sense of hostility. He looked up and saw a man in a black robe and several companions pointing at Li Chongqing. The man in black was the owner of the piebald python. Seeing Li Chongqing looking in the direction of the man in the black robe, Fanglan could not help but wonder, Sir, do you know the people of the Honesty Sect? The first disciple of the Honesty Sect, Ma Bai, is also one of the best in the younger generation. He is especially proficient in the art of beast taming. I heard that he captured a piebald python that was thousands of years old. He is very powerful. At this point, Fanglan could not help but show some doubts. It's just that Ma Bai and his piebald python have always been inseparable. He actually did not bring his python to such an important occasion as the martial arts conference this time. Hearing Fanglan's doubts, Li Chongqing just smiled slightly. The piebald python's soul had already returned to the 9 heavens. Although the people of the Honesty Sect were hostile to Li Chongqing, no one came to trouble Li Chongqing. After all, the scene of Li Chongqing throwing the lotus leaf and turning it into a boat gave these people some warning, so they did not dare to act rashly. Palace Lord Fanglan, how have you been? At this time, a young man with a long face walked to Fanglan's side. Palace Lord Fanglan, I haven't seen you for half a year. You have become more beautiful. After the young man came over, he did not hide his admiration for Fanglan. As for Li Chongqing next to Fanglan, he pretended not to care, but Li Chongqing could clearly feel that his attention had been secretly observing him. What a hypocrite! Li Chongqing felt that sitting next to Fanglan was too eye-catching, so he decided to change his seat. However, before he could stand up, the young man's gaze had already landed on him. I am Yu Bai, one of the 4 young masters of Dianan. You look very unfamiliar. I wonder which sect you are from. Chapter 785. My name is Li Chongqing. I'm the head of the Chongqing sect. Li Chongqing said lightly. Chongqing sect. Suspicion appeared in the other person's eyes. He grew up in Dianan, and it was his first time hearing about this sect. However, the moment Li Chongqing announced his name, many gazes from the surroundings turned to him. Each and every one of them was filled with astonishment. Yu Bai was not in Dianan recently, and did not know about the major events in Dianan. The change of Xianyuan's sex master and the appearance of Li Changsheng, who killed several profound realm cultivators, were the hottest news in Dianan recently. Even Fong Lan, the palace master of the Jade Mirror Palace, looked surprised. She thought, no wonder he's so powerful. He's Li Changsheng, the one who changed the dynasty of the Xianyuan sect recently. A person's name was like a tree shadow. Li Changsheng was no longer a nobody in southern Yunnan. Seeing the expressions on the faces around him, Yu Qiubai was even more confused. Just as Yu Qiubai wanted to find someone to ask, there was a sudden commotion in the crowd. Jiang Han, the first true disciple of Honesty's sect, is here. A man in black with a cold face appeared. He looked like he did not want anyone to get close to him. After he appeared, many people took the initiative to greet him. The man in black only nodded slightly, looking very arrogant. The moment he appeared, Yu Qiubai's expression became unnatural. At the same time, the man in black, Ma Bai, and several disciples of Honesty's sect took the initiative to greet him. Greetings, first senior brother. The people of Honesty's sect bowed respectfully. No need to be so polite, Jiang Han said lightly. When he looked at the man in black, he suddenly looked surprised. Ma Bai, where's a piebald python? Aren't you always inseparable from the piebald python? When Ma Bai heard Jiang Han's question, a bitter expression immediately appeared on his face. He complained, eldest senior brother, my piebald python was killed by someone. It was because my piebald python became restless when it saw a prey. It was beaten into a bloody mist from head to toe. Is that so? You're the same. You tamed a python and went around causing trouble. So what if an animal died? It's no big deal, Jiang Han said indifferently, as if he didn't care at all. Senior brother, it's no big deal that my anaconda is dead. But he clearly knew that I'm a disciple of Honesty's sect and still killed the anaconda in front of me. This is clearly looking down on Honesty's sect. Hearing the latter half of Ma Bai's words, Jiang Han's aura changed completely. What? Knowing that you were a disciple of Honesty's sect, he still dared to attack you? Who is it? Tell me, and I'll deal with him another day. That person is at the scene. Ma Bai pointed at Li Changsheng. Jiang Han couldn't help but frown because he couldn't see anything special about Li Changsheng. He asked doubtfully, Ma Bai, are you sure you're not talking nonsense? This person's cultivation seems to be weak. How could he destroy your piebald python with a single punch? Eldest senior brother, how would I dare to deceive you? He should have some kind of cultivation technique that conceals his cultivation level, which is why people can't see through him. Ma Bai said, so that's how it is. Jiang Han nodded, then walked directly to Li Changsheng's position. When he saw Yu Qiubai standing beside Li Changsheng, his face immediately turned cold. I didn't expect that we would meet again here. Yu Qiubai also sneered. Jiang Han, enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. I heard that you went out to train and didn't die outside. What a pity. Don't be so sarcastic with me. It's time for us to settle our grudges. Today, I'll let you have a taste of my skills. Is that so? Then hurry up and attack. I'm so scared. Yu Qiubai argued. I'll deal with you after I'm done with this brat. With that, Jiang Han suddenly pulled out the sword in his hand and pointed it at Li Changsheng. Brat, how dare you offend someone from Honesty's sect? Kneel down and apologize. Don't point your sword at people for no reason. It's very impolite. Li Changsheng raised his hand and gently pushed the sword that was pointed at him to the side. And you want me to kneel down and apologize to you? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Do you deserve it? What did you say? Jiang Han clenched the sword in his hand. If you don't kneel, believe it or not, I'll cut you in half with my sword. I don't believe it. Li Changsheng curled his lips. Good brat, you're so arrogant. Okay, then I won't kill you first. I'll see how you kneel at my feet and beg for mercy later. With that, he shifted the sword in his hand and pointed it at Yu Qiubai. You and I have a long history of grudges. Today, I'll defeat you, one of the 4 young masters of Dianan, so that people will know that I, Jiang Han, am the number 1 of the younger generation in Dianan. Yu Qiubai's face suddenly showed anger. Jiang Han, what do you mean? Are you using me to establish your authority? Yes, that's right. Yu Qiubai, Do you dare to fight with me? Jiang Han, you've gone too far. Yu Qiubai suddenly took a step forward. Without another word, he raised his palm and slammed it at Jiang Han. Rumble. Yu Qiubai unleashed this palm strike in anger. It was so powerful that it even caused the ground to shake. Yu Qiubai is indeed one of the 4 young masters of Dianan. His strength is truly terrifying. Just this move alone shows that his cultivation has already reached the peak of the Vajra realm. To have such strength at such a young age, he's truly incredible. Many people in the surrounding exclaimed. However, in the face of Yu Qiubai's attack, Jiang Han merely sneered. When Yu Qiubai's palm was about to reach him, the sword in his hand suddenly pierced out. Who? The sword aura pierced through the void. In the next second, Yu Qiubai's entire arm was chopped off. How is this possible? Yu Qiubai looked at his empty arm and was stunned for a moment. Then, he immediately let out a blood-curdling scream. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Yu Qiubai's strength was already strong enough. However, he was actually defeated by Jiang Han in one move. Just how terrifying was Jiang Han's strength? At this moment, Jiang Han was casually twirling his sword. A massive aura descended from his body. Many people's faces changed. He's actually at the finger profound realm. No wonder Jiang Han was so arrogant. He has already stepped into the finger profound realm. A finger profound realm expert was already a top-notch figure in the entire cultivation world. At this moment, the way everyone looked at Jiang Han had completely changed. Although Jiang Han was very famous in the cultivation world in the past, he was far from reaching this height now. Looking at the shocked gazes of the surrounding people, Jiang Han revealed a proud expression. Then, he looked at Li Changsheng, who was sitting there. Kid, I'm asking you to kneel now. Are you going to kneel or not? Jiang Han was finally filled with a cold smile. In his opinion, anyone who saw his finger profound realm strength would be so scared that their legs would tremble. He didn't believe that Li Changsheng would dare to not submit. However, Li Changsheng just shook his head indifferently. Then he said, Is the finger profound realm that great? I can't even count the number of finger profound realm experts I've killed with 2 hands. Chapter 786. The moment Li Changsheng's words left his mouth, everyone's eyes widened. Those who knew about Li Changsheng's deeds looked like they were waiting for a good show. The new leader of the Changsheng sect, the recent legendary figure in Dianan, they naturally wouldn't doubt the authenticity of Li Changsheng's words. And those who didn't know Li Changsheng's identity thought that Li Changsheng was talking nonsense. The finger profound realm was already the strongest in the cultivation world. The number of finger profound realm cultivators he had killed couldn't be counted with 2 hands. How was that possible? Jiang Han was stunned. Then he laughed out loud. Kid, you're quite boastful. Then I'd like to see if you can kill me, a finger profound realm cultivator. As soon as he finished speaking, the sword in his hand turned into a sword light and slashed toward Li Changsheng. The reason why Jiang Han didn't make a move at that time was to show his strength to Li Changsheng. But he didn't expect Li Changsheng to be so arrogant after seeing his strength. Naturally, he couldn't keep Li Changsheng alive. As the sword slashed down, the sword chi was everywhere. Many people looked in awe. Jiang Han had the cultivation of the finger profound realm at such a young age. He was definitely a top genius. The owner of the piebald python, Ma Bai, who was killed by Li Changsheng, clenched his fist. He hated Li Changsheng to the core. The disciples of Honesty sect cheered for Jiang Han, but more people were worried for Li Changsheng. Because the cold sword light was about to slash Li Changsheng's head, but Li Changsheng didn't react. Even those who knew Li Changsheng's name couldn't help but feel nervous. Whoosh! The sword light slashed down directly. Li Changsheng's body was split into 2. Many timid people couldn't help but exclaim. Could it be that Li Changsheng was killed so easily? Even Yu Qiubai was weaker than him. However, Jiang Han did not reveal a trace of joy. Instead, he was shocked because what he had slashed was only an illusion. There was no blood splattering. In the next second, a cold hand had already squeezed Jiang Han's neck. Then, Jiang Han was lifted up as he struggled. I've said it before. I don't know how many finger-profound realm martial artists I've killed. Do you still want me to kneel now? Li Changsheng shook his hand, and Jiang Han was thrown to the ground. The disciples of Honesty's sect all widened their eyes. They were so scared that they did not even dare to breathe. Everyone in the surroundings looked at Li Changsheng in awe, especially Fong Lan. Her eyes were filled with extraordinary splendor. Even the finger-profound mirror was like a puppet in Li Changsheng's hands. Who would not admire such a heroic figure? The sect master of Honesty's sect, Yuan Yuqing, is here. Just as the crowd fell into silence, there was a sudden exclamation. A figure appeared in the field. When he saw his disciple who was knocked to the ground by Li Changsheng, he immediately flew into a rage and said, "Bastard, how dare you hurt my disciple? You're courting death." Hearing the voice, Jiang Han, whose face was originally filled with despair, suddenly looked hopeful. He shouted loudly, "Master, save me." But just as he finished speaking, Li Changsheng had already lifted his foot and stomped down. Kaboom! With one stomp, Jiang Han's body exploded and turned into a pile of minced meat. Hiss! Everyone who witnessed this scene sucked in a breath of cold air. Too decisive, too cruel, too merciless. Honesty Sect's eldest disciple, Jiang Han, a finger-profound realm martial artist, was killed just like that. And it was in front of Honesty Sect's sect master, Yuan Yuqing. Han! Yuan Yuqing let out a tragic cry. In an instant, he only felt that his heart was bleeding. Jiang Han was his proudest disciple. At such a young age, he was already in the finger-profound realm. He was destined to become the sect master of Honesty Sect in the future. Honesty Sect still relied on Jiang Han to revitalize, but now he was killed. Yuan Yuqing's eyes instantly turned blood red. He looked at Li Changsheng with murderous intent and shouted, "You demon! How dare you kill my disciple? I will not live under the same sky as you." But just as he finished speaking, Li Changsheng took a step forward. His body turned into an afterimage and rushed to Yuan Yuqing's side in an instant. "So what if I killed your disciple? Today I will kill you too." Li Changsheng punched Yuan Yuqing's chest. Suddenly, Yuan Yuqing's body flew out like a kite with a broken string. After landing, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire person was battered and exhausted. "Demon, I will fight it out with you." Yuan Yuqing's entire body emitted a violent aura. He actually chose to die together with Li Changsheng. His body quickly rushed towards Li Changsheng. He wanted to detonate the vital essence in his body and die together with Li Changsheng. But just as he got close, Li Changsheng kicked him again and he flew out. And what shocked Yuan Yuqing was that the vital essence that he had just reversed was scattered all of a sudden. He couldn't even self-detonate. "Who the hell are you?" Yuan Yuqing only remembered to ask about Li Changsheng's identity at this time. "What's going on? Today is the triennial martial arts competition in Dianan. How can you make trouble on such an occasion?" A cold shout was heard. A few dignified figures walked over together. But when they saw the scene in the field, they were all stunned. They naturally knew Yuan Yuqing, the sect leader of Honesty Sect. As a veteran, profound realm expert, even they had to be polite when they saw him. But now, he seemed to have been beaten up and looked very miserable. "Sect leader Liu and the others are here. I don't know if they will help. I heard that they have a good relationship with Yuan Yuqing." There was a burst of discussion in the crowd. These 5 people were all famous figures in Dianan's cultivation world. Each one of them was a profound realm expert. And for the appearance of these 5 people, Li Changsheng didn't even look back. He raised his palm again, and the cold, murderous intent locked onto Yuan Yuqing. At this moment, Yuan Yuqing was really panicking, because his intuition told him that as long as Li Changsheng's palm fell, he would definitely die. He had just attacked Li Changsheng out of anger because his disciple was killed. Now he regretted it. His disciple was very important, but it was not as important as his own life. "Sect leader Liu, sect leader Zhang, save me." Yuan Yuqing cried for help loudly. The 5 old men were about to speak, but they saw Li Changsheng turn around. His eyes were full of coldness as he said, "What? You want to help him? Li Changxing's voice was full of threat. This made the 5 people feel a chill in their hearts at the same time, especially when they saw Yuan Yuqing's current appearance. The 5 people who had originally planned to attack instantly fell silent. Even the 5 of them didn't want to offend an expert who could kill Yuan Yuqing at will. Not far away, Fanglan watched this scene quietly. Although there was no change on the surface, her heart was like a stormy sea. These were all experts of the Finger Profound realm. They were high and respected figures in the cultivation world of Dianan, but now they were frightened by Li Changxing's words. Beside Fanglan, Yu Qiubai, who had one of his arms cut off, couldn't care less about the pain in his arm. His eyes were full of surprise. He originally wanted to compare himself with him, but now it seemed that he really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Fellow Taoist, what grudges can't you sit down and talk? Why do you have to fight and kill? Among the 5 people, the sect leader, surnamed Lu, finally couldn't help but speak. However, his tone was very polite. I'm happy. Why do you care? Li Changxing's indifferent words made the other party so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. You? He pointed at Li Changxing with his finger, his eyes full of anger. What? You're not convinced? If you're not convinced, you can stop me. The 4 people beside, you can also attack together. Li Changxing's words immediately caused an uproar. He actually dared to provoke 5-finger profound realm experts at the same time. This was too crazy. Chapter 787. Yuan Yuqing, who was originally afraid that the 5 of them would fear Li Changxing and not dare to save him, finally let out a long sigh of relief in his heart. Li Changxing actually acted so recklessly. The Finger Profound realm had its dignity. Speaking to this extent, if the 5 of them still didn't make a move, then if word got out in the future, their face would be swept to the ground. Moreover, Li Changxing was only one person, and they had 5. 5-finger profound realm experts working together was enough to flatten the sect. There was no reason to be afraid of Li Changxing, not to mention that there was still him. Including him, Yuan Yuqing, there were a total of 6-finger profound realm experts. Even though Yuan Yuqing suffered some injuries, his strength still couldn't be underestimated when he went all out. At this instant, Yuan Yuqing slowly straightened his body and stared fixedly at Li Changxing. Surnamed Li, this is called the evils of heaven can be forgiven, but the evils we bring upon ourselves are the hardest to bear. And at the same time, the other 5-finger profound realm experts also took the initiative to form a half circle, locking onto Li Changxing with their auras. The surrounding people all quickly distanced themselves, afraid of being caught in the crossfire. The power of a Finger Profound realm expert's attack was very great. Facing 6-finger profound realm experts, Li Changxing's face didn't fluctuate at all. He only looked at Yuan Yuqing with a mocking expression. Do you think they can save you? I'll kill you first. Finishing his words, he raised his palm, which transformed into a giant palm print that directly pressed down. Boom! A rumbling sound rang out. Yuan Yuqing's expression instantly became fearful. He discovered that all the true essence in his body had been confined. Save me, he let out a terrified voice. Only, the other 5-finger profound realm experts didn't even have time to make a move before their palms had already pressed down. Then, under that powerful palm, Yuan Yuqing's entire body instantly exploded into pieces, turning into a bloody mist. A Finger Profound realm expert was slapped to death just like that. From beginning to end, he didn't even have a chance to counterattack. The 5-finger profound realm experts who originally planned to make a move retreated at the same time at this moment. They were afraid. Originally, they thought that they had already overestimated Li Changxing's strength enough. But only now did they shockingly discover that they still underestimated Li Changxing. Shock. Everyone's hearts were filled with disbelief. Finger Profound realm experts had always been high and mighty. Since when were they like little chicks? Their lives were so worthless. However, this was only the beginning. Li Changxing turned his head around. His eyes that were as cold as a deep pool looked towards the five-finger profound realm experts who were just about to attack. He raised his finger and pointed at Headmaster Lu, who was the first to reveal his killing intent, and said, "Get over here and accept your death." A hint of anger appeared on Headmaster Lu's face, but he quickly suppressed it. His entire figure was like a ghost as he fled into the distance. However, he had only taken 2 steps when a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. It was Li Changsheng. "How are you so fast?" Headmaster Lu turned his head, wanted to turn around, but Li Changsheng grabbed him by the neck and lifted him up like a little chick. Then, Li Changsheng sealed all the true essence in his body and casually threw him to the ground. "I originally didn't want to bicker with you, but you just had to seek your own death. Then don't blame me." As his voice fell, Li Changsheng stepped on Headmaster Lu's body. With a poochie sound, his body was directly separated from the place where Li Changsheng's foot landed. Fresh blood splattered all over the ground. When the remaining 4-finger profound realm experts saw this scene, they were all so frightened that their souls almost left their bodies. Just as the thought of escaping rose in their minds, Li Changsheng's figure had already appeared beside another expert. He raised his palm and landed it on the expert's head. The other party instantly bled from all 7 orifices. His body fell limply onto the ground, without any signs of life. Killing 3-finger profound realm experts in a row was actually as easy as chopping vegetables. Everyone in the field all revealed terrified expressions. Their hearts were about to jump out of their throats. They were all well-known figures in the pugilistic world, but when had they ever seen such a brutal scene? Li Changsheng was undoubtedly a devil in their eyes. The remaining 3 originally wanted to escape, but when Li Changsheng's gaze swept over, each and every one of their bodies became stiff. At this moment, they were completely terrified. They couldn't even muster up the courage to resist. Li Changsheng was too terrifying. Even a finger-profound realm expert wasn't qualified. "Kneel for me," Li Changsheng shouted coldly. The faces of the 3-finger profound realm experts all paled. If they really knelt in front of so many people, how would they have the face to walk in the world of cultivation in the future? However, when Li Changsheng's killing intent became more and more intense, finally, the headmaster, surnamed Zhang, knelt on the ground with a thump. Whether it was face or dignity, it was nothing in front of life and death. With one person taking the lead, the other 2 hesitated for a moment before also kneeling down. They didn't want to die, so this was the only way. There is no need to mention how shocked the surrounding people were. In the past, they often heard about how high and mighty finger profound realm experts were, how valiant, and how unrivaled they were. However, this was the first time they knew that finger profound realm experts could also be easily killed by others. They also had to kneel down and beg for mercy in order to drag out an ignoble existence. So the so-called super experts, after stripping off the finger-profound realm's outer clothing, were only ordinary people. Everyone slapped themselves 100 times, and today's matter will be considered over. Li Changsheng said without a trace of emotion. Whether or not to kill these people was all up to him. Previously, Yuan Yuqing and the others had murderous intent towards him, so they had to die. Although these 3 people also had the intention to surround and attack him, Li Changsheng didn't feel any killing intent from them, so he could spare their lives. Without any hesitation, the 3-finger profound realm experts started to slap themselves. Every slap landed on the ground, making pa-pa-pa sounds. Hearing this, everyone's faces revealed complicated expressions. Li Changsheng then walked to Feng Lan's side and sat down. That old yellow bull very obediently laid on the side. While many people were quietly observing Li Changsheng, they were also sizing up that old yellow bull. They thought in their hearts that since this demon was so terrifying, this yellow bull must also be a very powerful demon beast. However, no matter how they observed, they couldn't see anything special about the old yellow bull. However, no one dared to look down on the old yellow bull. After all, its master, Li Changsheng, also looked very ordinary. This man and bull are both experts at pretending to be pigs to eat tigers. Someone sighed, and Feng Lan, who was sitting opposite Li Changsheng. Besides shock, there was also a trace of reverence in her eyes as she looked at Li Changsheng. "What? Afraid that I'll eat you?" Li Changsheng smiled. "I'm actually a very easy person to get along with and very kind." Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Fong Lan thought, killing three-finger profound realm experts just because of a disagreement. If this is considered easy to get along with, then those demons of the demonic path can all be called kind people. However, because of these words, her fear towards Li Changsheng decreased by a lot. Thinking back, Li Changsheng was indeed a person who wouldn't take the initiative to provoke others. The few times he attacked were also because others provoked him first. Chapter 788. By the way, what's the purpose of this martial arts conference? Li Changxing asked. It was impossible for so many people to gather together just to eat, drink, and have fun. This is a grand event held once every 3 years in Dianan. At first, it was because Dianan was often harassed by some ability users from abroad, so they gathered together to discuss how to fight back. Later, it developed into a conference for the Division of Cultivation Forces in Dianan. Just like after the Xinyuan School was destroyed, if the Chongqing School did not replace it, the conference would determine how to divide the forces. There are also some conflicts of interest between sects that would be arbitrated through the conference. Hearing Fong Lan's words, Li Changsheng immediately understood the purpose of the conference. At this time, the three-finger profound realm experts had already finished slapping. Each and every one of them looked pitifully at Li Changsheng. "All right, get up." Li Changsheng waved his hand. "You guys continue with your conference, don't worry about me." Hearing Li Changsheng's words, the three people dared to stand up and walk to their seats. However, there was no longer the majesty of the finger-profound realm experts, and the atmosphere was a little strange. "Sect Master Zhang, you must uphold justice for me." At this time, a sorrowful cry was heard. The black-clothed male walked into the arena with large strides and bowed towards the three-finger profound realm headmasters who were sitting on the main seats. "Sect Masters, the Wuzhong Mountain in Dianan was originally the territory of our White Dew Sword sect, but the South Pine Sword sect forcibly occupied it and even injured our disciples." After the man finished speaking, another group of people immediately rushed over, led by a man in a gray robe. "Sect Masters, you must not listen to Lin Ping's words alone. It was his White Dew Sword sect that invaded our South Pine Sword sect's territory first, so we attacked and occupied the Wuzhong Mountain to return the favor." The man in the gray robe said loudly, "Sect Masters, please enforce the law impartially." If it was in the past when they encountered such a situation, the three-finger profound realm practitioners would each hit the other party 50 times to stop the dispute. But today, none of the three said anything. Instead, their gazes quietly looked towards Li Changsheng's position. Although Li Changsheng had said that they didn't need to care about him, the three of them didn't dare. They were afraid that they would accidentally provoke Li Changsheng, this fiend. Seeing that the three sect masters did not even speak, Lin Ping and the sect master of the South Pine Sword sect, Situ Yi, were both puzzled. They felt that something was wrong today. Seeing this situation, Li Changsheng couldn't help but sigh and say to Fong Lan, "It seems that my presence here will affect the normal conduct of the conference, so I will leave first." Li Changsheng patted the old bull's head as he stood up. The old bull shook off the dust on its body and followed Li Changsheng out of the arena. The two sect masters, Lin Ping and Situ Yi, who were originally waiting for the three-finger profound realm practitioners to uphold justice for them, frowned imperceptibly when they saw Li Changsheng suddenly stand up. Especially Lin Ping, who had a more explosive temper, immediately opened his mouth. "Which sect are you from? Do you still know the rules? Don't you see that the three sect masters are giving us justice? If you want to leave, then leave quietly." Swaggering like this is clearly disrespectful to the three sect masters. Hearing Lin Ping's angry rebuke, Li Changsheng didn't pay any attention to him at all. He still walked out step by step, but this action instantly angered Lin Ping. "Kid, didn't you hear me talking to you? Saying this, he actually pulled out the treasured sword in his hand and shouted at Li Changsheng, "I will count to 3. Stop immediately and apologize to the 3 sect masters. Otherwise, I will break your legs and stew your old bull for meat." In Lin Ping's eyes, Li Changsheng's aura was weak and didn't seem like an expert. As for that old bull, it was just an ordinary animal. Originally, his anger rose because of the dispute with Situ Yi, and he took the opportunity to vent a little. However, he didn't notice that after he did this, the eyes of the people present were strange. His opponent, Situ Yi, looked at Li Changsheng with some pity. She felt that Li Changsheng was really unlucky to have provoked Lin Ping at this time. However, he didn't have any intention of coming out to help. After all, Li Changsheng wasn't related to him in any way. If he died, it would have nothing to do with him. "You want to break my legs and stew my bull?" Li Changsheng's originally walking footsteps suddenly stopped. However, in the instant that Li Changsheng's footsteps stopped, everyone present simultaneously inhaled a breath of cold air. Thinking of the cruel methods that Li Changsheng used to deal with the few-finger profound realm experts, their gazes were filled with pity. However, Lin Ping didn't notice the strange atmosphere. He still held his head high and said, "That's right. Which sect are you from? Tell me your name. If I know your sect's elders, you only need to kneel down and apologize. If your sect's elders don't have the slightest bit of friendship with me, then today I will definitely break one of your legs." "Huh?" Li Changsheng smiled, shook his head, and then walked out of the arena. Li Changsheng's actions completely enraged Lin Ping. "Explode. Brat, how dare you ignore me? You're courting death." As he spoke, the sword in his hand turned into a cold light and slashed towards Li Changsheng. However, just as the sword light was released, the 3-finger profound realm practitioners who were originally sitting on the high platform actually attacked at the same time. One of them blocked Lin Ping's sword light. Another raised his hand to seal his cultivation, and the last person slapped his lower abdomen. Then, Lin Ping's body flew into the air and landed a few meters away. After landing, he kept spitting out blood. Seeing the 3-finger profound realm practitioners attack, Situ Yi was completely stunned, and Lin Ping climbed up from the ground with difficulty with a blank face. "Why? What did I do wrong?" Lin Ping asked with a face full of disbelief. He was punishing people who didn't know the rules for the 3 sect masters. Why was he beaten instead? And from the beginning to the end, Li Changsheng didn't turn back. At this moment, the man in the bull had already walked a few hundred meters and gradually disappeared from everyone's sight. "Because you offended Mr. Li," the sect master surnamed Zhang said loudly. "You dare to attack Mr. Li, Lin Ping. How dare you? There's no need to judge the grudge between you and Situ Yi. Your White Dew Sword sect doesn't need to stay in Dianan anymore. I'll give you 30 days to bring your sect out of Dianan. Otherwise, the 2 sect masters and I will attack together and wipe your White Dew Sword sect from the world." Hearing the judgment of the 3-finger profound realm practitioners, Lin Ping's heart completely fell to the bottom. On the other side, Situ Yi's face was full of surprise. She didn't expect things to develop like this. At the same time, she felt lucky that she didn't stupidly attack the young man like Lin Ping. But to be able to make 3-finger profound realm sect masters support him at the same time, what is his identity? While she was puzzled, Lin Ping had already asked, 3 sect masters, I want to know the identity of that young man. Why should my White Dew Sword sect be chased out Dianan just because I offended him? The new sect master of the Changxing sect can casually kill a finger profound realm practitioner. Lin Ping, if we didn't attack, do you think you'd still be alive? A finger profound realm practitioner said coldly. At the same time, there was a trace of bitterness in his heart. Lin Ping was unlucky to meet Li Changsheng, but so was he. Perhaps in a few days, the news of him being forced to slap himself on the spot would spread out and he would lose face. After the meeting, I'll immediately go into seclusion until everyone forgets about what happened today. He thought silently in his heart. At this time, Fang Lan suddenly reacted. Li Changsheng actually left just like that. If she had known earlier, she would have invited him to the Jade Mirror Palace as a guest. If he left now, where should she find him? Fong Lan's heart instantly felt empty. Chapter 789. Li Changsheng didn't care much about what happened at the meeting, so it didn't stir up much of a ripple in his heart. After leaving the meeting, he rode on Yellow Ox's back and leisurely headed east. If his trip to the Three Immortal Island went smoothly, he might leave. However, there was still one thing that he couldn't let go of, and that was the news about his master who had taught him the cultivation method. The last time he returned to the villa in the capital, someone had sent him a message claiming that it was related to his master. However, until now, there was still no news about Li Changsheng. Since his master could teach him the 9 transformations of gods and demons, it was very likely that he was still alive in the world like him. At the thought of this, Li Changsheng felt a burst of excitement. It was a pity that he had lived for countless years, but he had never heard any news about his master. He sat on Yellow Ox's back, his thoughts constantly drifting. No matter what, he had to go to the Three Immortal Island now and figure out the secret of leaving this world. As for other things, he could only leave it to fate. Li Changsheng took out a pill from his chinquin bag and gave it to Yellow Ox. Yellow Ox was just an ordinary animal, but following Li Changsheng was its opportunity. After taking the pill, he could clearly feel a crackling sound coming from Yellow Ox's body. This was the transformation of its bones. A few days later, the old Yellow Ox had completely changed its appearance. Its fur was shiny, and its eyes were bright. When it stepped on the ground, a basin-sized stone was stomped into powder. Its speed was also countless times faster than before. Looking at Yellow Ox's changes, Li Changsheng nodded with satisfaction. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before it evolved into a real demonic beast. After half a month of traveling, the man and the ox finally arrived at the seaside. Li Changsheng released the magical boat he had bought last time. The man and the ox sat on the boat and moved toward the sea. Li Changsheng had already known the location of the Three Immortal Island from the records of the Wudong sect. However, the sea was vast, and just knowing the approximate location was not enough. Therefore, Li Changsheng decided to go to the sea market to buy a sea map first. The sea map was a detailed map drawn by generations of ancestors through exploration of the sea. With it, it would be much easier for Li Changsheng to find the Three Immortal Island. It was the same sea market as last time. When Li Changsheng was about to approach it, he suddenly heard rolling thunder. He looked up and saw a blurry figure bathing in the thick clouds. It was the divine beast Kuei Ox. The last time Li Changsheng met the Ji siblings, it was this Kuei cow that was devouring lightning. He did not expect to meet it again this time. What a coincidence! Li Changsheng stood at the bow of the ship and looked at the figure in the sky. The Kuei cow clan was born with the ability to control lightning. Even Li Changsheng was a little envious of their ancestral divine ability. Yellow Ox was trembling with fear when it heard the thunder. It was just an ordinary beast with the most ordinary blood flowing through its veins. It was innately in awe of these top-notch divine beasts, just like how ordinary people would feel when they saw the emperor or the nobles. It's okay. Don't be afraid. One day, you may become a stronger existence than him. Li Changsheng patted Yellow Ox's head. What he said was not an exaggeration at all. Yellow Ox was just an ordinary livestock now, not even a demon beast. However, if it followed Li Changsheng, even if it had the most ordinary bloodline, it could still grow into a peerless demon beast. Unexpectedly, as soon as Li Changsheng finished speaking, a bolt of lightning suddenly struck down from the sky, and the sea immediately began to surge with great waves. The lightning landed on the bow of the ship and was scattered by Li Changsheng's palm. Yellow Ox was so scared that it almost collapsed to the ground. Beasts had an innate fear of lightning. A surprised voice came from the sky. "Good boy, you have some strength. No wonder you dare to speak so arrogantly. However, you're insulting me by comparing a small yellow ox with me." A figure flashing with lightning descended from the sky and stood on the surface of the sea. Lightning constantly flashed around him, and countless fishes and shrimps were electrocuted until their bellies turned upside down. It was a middle-aged man, bare-chested, with bronze muscles and long black hair. Lightning flashed in his eyes, and his feet were not wearing boots. One could see that his 5 toes were covered with black scales. I didn't mean to insult you. It's just that Yellow Ox may not be worse than you in the future. Li Changsheng faced the powerful man from the one-legged ox clan with an unusually calm expression. Who would have thought that his matter-of-fact words would instantly enrage the man? Boy, do you think that you have the right to talk nonsense in front of me just because you can shatter my lightning? You just insulted me by comparing your yellow ox with me. Now you don't repent. Do you really think I have a good temper? As soon as the man finished speaking, he suddenly raised his hand. A bolt of lightning formed a chain and attacked Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng was about to retaliate when he heard a delicate voice. Lei Xiao, he just said a few words to his mount, and you want to kill him? Aren't you a little too overbearing? A white figure appeared in an instant. At the same time, a silver sword light slashed the lightning chain, shattering it into pieces. It was a girl who looked to be only 15 or 16 years old. She had an oval face and a pair of bright eyes. She was dressed in white, and her skin was smooth. She looked like a fairy who had descended to the mortal world. At this moment, she was glaring at the man in front of her. She said angrily, "You think you're a descendant of the one-legged ox clan, and you can control lightning, so you are a tyrant on the sea. You have repeatedly broken the peace treaty between humans and demons. How many humans have died at your hands in just 1 month? If I didn't appear in time today, you would have killed again. I'm warning you. You are already on Penglai Island's wanted list. If you don't stop now, you will be hunted down by Penglai Island." "Ha! Zhouan, don't scare me. Do you think I am afraid of Penglai Island? You better mind your own business. Otherwise, I will take care of you too." Lei Xiao shouted coldly. Countless bolts of lightning gathered behind him, forming a lightning python that was as thick as a water bucket. It opened its mouth ferociously. "Lei Xiao, the elders of Penglai Island are on the sea. Since you're not afraid of Penglai Island, you can try." Zhouan raised her slender hand, and something that looked like a firework appeared in her hand. After seeing that thing, Lei Xiao's expression changed several times, as if he was considering whether Zhouan's words were true or false. In the end, he kept the lightning python. "All right, Zhouan, I still have some things to do today, so I won't argue with you. But I am warning you, you better mind your own business. When I go through my 9th tribulation, even if the master of Penglai Island comes, he will have to take a detour." After saying that, he turned around and flew into the distance. He quickly disappeared above the sea. Chapter 790. After Lei Xiao left, Zhouan could not help but pat her chest. Her face was filled with lingering fear. "Were you trying to trick him?" Li Changsheng asked when he saw Zhouan's expression. "Yes. If I didn't say that my elder was nearby, with Lei Xiao's temper, I'm afraid both of us would be in trouble. Little brother, you must be careful when you speak and do things in the future. There are countless experts in this boundless ocean. Many of them have strange tempers. If I didn't show up in time, you might be in danger now." "All right." Li Changsheng smiled. He had a good impression of this young lady. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Zhouan nodded her head in satisfaction. She descended from the sky and landed on the bow of the ship. She carefully looked at the old yellow bull beside Li Changsheng and could not help but shake her head. Although this old yellow bull is stronger than ordinary livestock, it can't even be considered as a demon beast. You actually said that it will grow to be stronger than Lei Xiao in the future. How dare you say that? No wonder Lei Xiao is angry. After saying that, she raised her hand and summoned a magic item that looked like a cloud. She was about to leave on it. In fact, it was also a magic item ship. However, it was sacrificial refined into the shape of a cloud. It looked very magical. "Wait a minute." Li Changsheng suddenly spoke. "Is there anything?" Zhouan turned her head. Her eyes were filled with doubt. "Miss, you said that you are from Penglai Island. I have something to do there. I wonder if you can tell me the exact location of Penglai Island." "You want to go to Penglai Island?" Zhouan was slightly surprised. Penglai Island is not a place that anyone can enter. "Do you have any friends on Penglai Island?" Li Changsheng shook his head. No, I don't. However, I want to meet the island master of Punglai Island. I have some questions to ask. So that's how it is. Even if I tell you the location of Punglai Island, there's a magic array blocking the outside of Punglai Island. You will definitely not be able to get close. However, if you want to meet the island lord, there is another way. Recently, there will be a grand myriad treasure trade fair on the coast of the East Sea. The island lord of Punglai Island will be there as well. After that, she urged the cloud under her feet to quickly fly away. Obviously, it was very rare for her to give so much useful information to a stranger like Li Changsheng. Looking at Zhou, one who was gradually disappearing from his sight, Li Changsheng also drove the magic tool ship in the direction of the sea market. When they arrived at the sea market, it was still as lively as last time. However, unlike last time, they saw many human figures on the island. Li Changsheng led Yellow Ox onto the island. Yellow Ox trembled with every step it took. There were many great demons in human form on this island. To Yellow Ox, they were all ferocious existences. After taking a few steps, he suddenly heard a surprised voice. "Master, you're in Sea City too?" He looked up and saw the giant bone snake, king shrouded in a black robe, rushing over. When he walked to Li Changsheng and was about to kneel down, he was stopped by Li Changsheng. "You don't need to be so formal outside." "Yes, master." The giant bone snake king hurriedly nodded. "What business do you have in Sea City?" Li Changsheng held Yellow Ox's hand and kept walking. "I'm in Sea City to buy some materials for refining tools. Recently, I'm preparing to refine a set of magic tools." The giant bone snake king respectfully followed beside Li Changsheng. He sized up the Yellow Ox at the same time. He looked at it for a long time, but didn't see anything special about it. However, he didn't dare to ask. He only hid his doubts in his heart. "I want to buy a sea map. You should be familiar with Sea City, right? Take me to have a look." "Okay." The giant bone snake king nodded. They went to a place called Linglong Pavilion and went directly to the third floor. On the left side of the third floor, there were all kinds of sea maps hanging on the wall. Some were very pocket-sized, only the size of a palm, while some covered the entire wall. Those big sea maps were very detailed. After asking, they found out that a sea map could only be exchanged for a high-grade magic tool. And this sea map was like the navigation system in a mobile phone. It could be shrunk or enlarged at will. When one walked on the sea, their specific location would immediately appear on the map. It could be said that it had endless magical uses. "I'll take a small one." Li Changsheng pointed at a sea map the size of a table and said. On the third floor, no matter what kind of sea map it was, the location of Punglai Island was not marked. After asking, they found out that Punglai Island was very mysterious. Very few people knew its specific location, and even if they knew, no one dared to publicize it on the sea map. Although a large sea map was good, it was not very useful to Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng did not need to pay for the sea map. The giant bone snake king immediately took out a low-grade magic tool and handed it to the demon race salesman. Although Li Changsheng was not handsome, the giant bone snake king's powerful demon Qi made the salesman in the shop not dare to neglect it. After receiving the sea map, the giant bone snake king told Li Changsheng that there would be a rare treasure auction in the sea market tomorrow. Li Changsheng decided to stay for another day to see what the rare treasures in the sea market were. Along the way, the giant bone snake king reported the situation of the Verdant Gate. When he learned that the Verdant Gate was operating normally, Li Changsheng was completely relieved. There was an inn for people to stay in on the island. After Li Changsheng got a good room, he stayed. The giant bone snake king stayed next to Li Changsheng, but most of the time, it stood guard for Li Changsheng outside the door. The demon race worshipped the strong. Li Changsheng's strength had completely made the giant bone snake king submit, and it was willing to be his subordinate. Ding, ding, ding. Just when Li Changsheng had nothing to do and was studying the fire-controlling technique he got from Tian's ancestor, there was a sudden knock on the door. After getting Li Changsheng's permission, the giant bone snake king dared to come in. A group of Silver Shark clansmen came downstairs. They said that they wanted to entertain guests in this inn, and now they are driving the guest away. Is the Silver Shark clan very powerful? Li Changsheng furrowed his brows. He did not have to stay in this inn, but he was a very lazy person. Since he had already stayed here, he did not want to move. The Silver Shark clan is a relatively powerful clan in the sea. They are slightly inferior to the Flood Dragon clan. The giant Bone Snake King said. Flood Dragon clan? Li Changsheng had a rough understanding of the Silver Shark clan's power. Go down and tell them that we won't disturb them. Okay. The giant Bone Snake King received the order and went downstairs. At this moment, the first floor was in a mess. Many guests who were originally staying there were unhappy when they heard that someone wanted to drive them away. However, when the other party revealed the identity of the Silver Shark clan, they all obediently shut their mouths. At this moment, the giant Bone Snake King happened to walk down the stairs. A leader of the Silver Shark clan immediately pointed at the giant Bone Snake King and said, "Which room are you in? Hurry up and pack your luggage and get lost. My young master will be here soon. He wants to entertain a guest from Penglai Island. If you continue to dawdle, don't blame me for getting angry." Chapter 791. At this time, the inn's manager also came over. "Sir, the Silver Shark clan and Penglai Island are both super forces of the sea. It's not worthwhile to offend them. If you leave now, I won't ask you for the room fee." The inn's manager also saw that the giant Bone Snake King was not to be trifled with. He was afraid that the giant Bone Snake King would get angry and start a conflict with the other party. If the two sides fought in this small inn, his inn would be torn down. At that time, where would he go to complain? He couldn't afford to offend any of the forces. After reprimanding, the Silver Shark clan's manager went to drive away the other guests, no longer paying attention to the giant Bone Snake King. In his opinion, as long as he mentioned the name of the Silver Shark clan, no one would dare to obey his orders. However, just as he turned around and took a few steps, the giant Bone Snake King suddenly turned into a huge bone snake and swallowed the few Silver Shark clan pawns into its stomach. The steward turned around and was immediately scared out of his wits. That powerful aura made his legs tremble. Just as he was about to beg for mercy, he was completely swallowed by the giant Bone Snake King from head to toe. After that, the giant Bone Snake King turned back into its human form and rubbed its stomach with a satisfied expression. All the Monster Clan and Human Clan's people present were dumbfounded. This was too cruel. The remaining disciples of the Silver Shark clan were all standing there, trembling with fear. They looked at the giant Bone Snake King in fear, knowing that they had kicked an iron plate. Judging from the aura the giant Bone Snake King showed just now, it was definitely a super great monster. "Go back and tell your young master that my master is resting in this inn. Whoever dares to disturb him, be careful of his dog life." After saying that, the giant Bone Snake King walked up the stairs unhurriedly. After a long time, the sound on the first floor was restored. Who was that black-robed man? What a terrifying aura. He said that his master is upstairs. Since his strength is so terrifying, how strong must his master be? Terrifying. Too terrifying. I feel like I just walked through the gates of hell. Everyone's face was filled with lingering fear. The remaining Silver Shark clan's disciples didn't dare to stay any longer and fled one after another. The innkeeper stood on the spot, his scalp numb. He knew that trouble was likely to ensue. After all, the Silver Shark clan was not to be trifled with. In front of the restaurant in the front yard, a chariot pulled by a 9-headed sea beast arrived in a grandiose manner. A young man with an excellent temperament was sitting in the carriage. He didn't look very old, but he did have a noble aura. Apparently, he was the crown prince of the Silver Shark clan. After the other party appeared, the people who had gathered around the restaurant to watch the show were immediately driven back. I asked Little Six to clear out all the people in this restaurant. I wonder how it went. As soon as the young master finished speaking, he immediately saw a few subordinates stumbling over. "Young master, when the sixth steward was driving away the guests at the back of the inn, he encountered a ferocious man and was swallowed alive." Those subordinates were still trembling as they spoke. They were obviously frightened. The young master's face changed instantly. Knowing that they were from the Silver Shark clan, they still dared to attack. This meant that the other party was not afraid of the Silver Shark clan at all. Moreover, the strength of the sixth steward was not bad, yet he was easily swallowed. Obviously, the other party was an expert. Who was it? Tell me in detail. The subordinate hurriedly described the situation in the inn. When he heard that the other party had a master on the second floor, even the Silver Shark clan's young master felt a little uncertain. Could it be that a monster king is here? It didn't matter if a follower died, but if the Silver Shark clan provoked a demon king level existence, then the losses would outweigh the gains. Thinking so, the Silver Shark clan's crown prince put the matter of the sixth steward's death aside and walked down with a gloomy face. He passed through the front of the restaurant and walked to the backyard. At this time, the innkeeper came up to greet him. Just as he was about to kneel down, the Silver Shark crown prince stopped him and said, "No need to be polite. Innkeeper, please report that the Silver Shark clan's young patriarch, UMO, is here to pay a visit to the senior on the second floor." UMO was a man who knew how to adapt to the circumstances. He was a man who knew how to adapt to circumstances. The innkeeper did not dare to be negligent and hurried to the door of Li Chongqing's room on the second floor. The giant bone snake king was standing guard at the door. Seeing the giant bone snake king, the innkeeper's face showed some fear, but he still said, "The Silver Shark clan's young patriarch wishes to pay a visit to your master." Hearing the innkeeper's words, the giant bone snake king was about to ask Li Chongqing for permission, but Li Chongqing's indifferent voice came from the room. "No need, I don't like to be disturbed." Hearing Li Chongqing's words, the innkeeper's face was awkward. At the same time, he was secretly shocked. The Silver Shark clan's young patriarch had come to pay a visit in person, but he was actually refused. Who exactly was the other party? The innkeeper was about to say something. The giant bone snake king's eyes widened. "My master said he won't see you, so he won't see you. Why are you talking nonsense?" The innkeeper was so scared that his body trembled, and he hurriedly took his leave. In the courtyard, the Silver Shark clan's people were waiting quietly. When they heard that the person inside refused to pay a visit, many of them were immediately enraged. "This is too much. Our Silver Shark clan's young patriarch came to pay a visit in person, but the other party refused to see him. He simply doesn't put our Silver Shark clan in his eyes. Who exactly is the person living inside? How dare he? We gave him face, but he doesn't want it. If you ask me, we should just kill our way in and teach him a lesson. Let's see if he still dares to look down on our Silver Shark clan." Looking at his subordinates who were filled with righteous indignation, the Silver Shark clan's young patriarch, UMO, waved his hand. "All of you, shut up. The person living inside is an expert. Since the expert doesn't want to see us, we'll just leave." Hearing UMO's words, the others shut up. However, when UMO turned his head, a trace of coldness flashed through his eyes. He was the dignified Silver Shark clan's young patriarch. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? He had personally come to pay a visit, but he was refused at the door. This made him very angry. "Let's go." UMO led his subordinates to come in a grandiose manner, but they left with their tails between their legs. Only after they left did the innkeeper let out a long sigh of relief. He was really afraid that UMO would have a conflict in his anger. On the second floor of the inn, the giant bone snake king stood at the door and said in a low voice, "Master, that Silver Shark brat actually dared to show killing intent in his eyes. He simply doesn't know the difference between life and death. Do you want me to annihilate them all?" This giant bone snake king was once the number 2 expert in the Demon Alliance, second only to the gold-armored heavenly monster. He was very savage. Not to mention the Silver Shark clan's young patriarch. Even the Silver Shark clan's patriarch would have to be polite to him. "No need. Don't cause trouble." After Li Chongqing's words, the room fell into silence. At this moment, the inn in front had attracted many people's attention. Several big shots from Penglai and Mortal Island had appeared. Chapter 792. There were a total of 4 people from Penglai Island. 2 men and 2 women were dressed in white and were untainted by the mortal world. When their feet landed on the ground, If one observed carefully, they would be able to see that they were floating a few centimeters above the ground. Many of the surrounding people were already staring straight at them. As expected of the immortals of Penglai Island, they were truly as beautiful as flowers. The man was also incomparably handsome. Among the four, if Li Chongqing was here, he would recognize that one of them was Zhou Wan, whom he had met once before. The one who was slightly taller than Zhou, one was called Wei Shitong. The other two men had a square face and was called Du Guanzhao. He was Zhou Wan's senior brother. The one who held a folding fan in his hand was called Gu Shang. The four of them were all well-known figures among the younger generation of Penglai Dao. Seeing the four of them appear, Yu Mo immediately went up to them. Even though the Silver Shark clan was a hegemon in the ocean, it paled in comparison to Penglai Island. I have prepared a banquet inside. Please come in, Yu Mo said with a smile. Young clan head Yu Mo is too polite. Du Guanzhao smiled faintly. The three of them walked into the restaurant together. Originally, there were still some customers eating in the restaurant. However, they were all cleared out. Tomorrow is the day of the auction for that treasure. I'm afraid that we will have to stay on this island. Young clan head Mo, I wonder if the inn that I asked you to book has been booked? After taking a seat, Wei Shitong casually asked. Because there was a rumor that a treasure was going to be auctioned in the ocean market, many people came to join in the fun. Accommodation on the island had to be booked in advance. However, with the power of the Silver Shark clan's young clan head, finding a few rooms to stay in was a piece of cake. Ferryway, don't worry. Behind this restaurant is the inn. I've already cleared out most of the people. Only one cultivator refused to leave. I'm a reasonable person, so I did not force him to leave. Umo naturally would not tell them about the time when he personally went to visit but was rejected at the door. That would be too embarrassing. However, when he said that, the people of Penglai Dao did not feel that he was kind. Instead, they frowned. The people of Penglai Island considered themselves to be immortals, not stepping into the mortal world. The reason why they asked Umo to help them find an inn was because they wanted to find a quiet place. They didn't like to stay in the same place as others. When they heard that there were still people who hadn't left, they felt somewhat unhappy. I wonder what kind of cultivators they are. Since young clan head Umo doesn't have the heart to chase them away, I'll go talk to them. Before the dishes were served, Wei Shitong stood up and walked to the backyard. This, Umo originally wanted to dissuade him. However, when he thought about how he had lost face to that person, wouldn't it be better if the people from Penglai Island taught him a lesson? Thus, he decided not to speak anymore. Sister Umo, I think we should just forget about it. It's not a big deal to have one or two more people staying in such a big inn. Zhou Wan was well aware of her companion's temper and hurriedly tried to persuade her. I know what to do. Wait for me for a moment. How can I, a person from Penglai Island, squeeze into a building with these ordinary people? After saying that, he walked down the stairs. Her two companions beside her couldn't help but shake their heads. This Wei Shitong was famous for her arrogance on Penglai Island. When Umo saw that Wei Shitong was about to leave, he wanted to say something but hesitated. Young clan head Umo, if you have something to say, you can just say it. The person staying in the inn isn't ordinary. If Miss Wei Shitong goes over, wouldn't there be any conflict? Don't worry. Shitong is at the Vajra realm. Unless it's a demonic king-class expert, the one in danger would only be others. Is that so? When Umo heard this, a smile appeared on his face. If Wei Shitong's strength was too low, she wouldn't be able to test the strength of the master and servant in the inn. At this moment, on the second floor of the inn, Wei Shitong saw the giant bone snake king standing at the entrance. She couldn't help but frown. Penglai Island considered itself as an overseas immortal mountain. Their sect was also like an immortal home. Thus, when she saw the sinister appearance of the giant bone snake king, she immediately frowned. She originally wanted to use peaceful means before resorting to force. Now, she was no longer in the mood to do so. She directly said coldly, "So you are the one who is staying in this inn and not leaving? My Penglai Island's people want to stay in this inn. Please leave immediately. As for the room fees, I can reimburse you." who knew that even though she was arrogant, the giant bone snake king was even more arrogant than her. He immediately shook his head coldly and said, "Impossible. My master is resting here. It is impossible for us to move out. Also, do not disturb my master again. Otherwise, I will not be polite to you." "What did you say?" Because Wei Shitong's father was an elder of Penglai Island, she had been pampered since she was young. She could get whatever she wanted. When had she ever been talked back to like this? The giant bone snake king's attitude immediately infuriated her. Just at this moment, Li Changsheng, who heard the commotion outside, walked out. With his hearing ability, he naturally heard what was happening outside. He said to Wei Shitong, "Young lady, we are not going to affect you by staying here. Why do you insist on making us leave?" Li Changsheng tried to persuade her, but Wei Shitong was already infuriated by the giant bone snake king. How could she listen to him? She raised her hand and slapped at Li Changsheng. "Just move when I ask you to. Why are you spouting so much nonsense?" Slap her. It might seem like a casual slap, but Wei Shitong's strength was extraordinary. If the slap was real, even an innate realm martial artist's face would be smashed. If it was someone below the innate realm, their head would probably be smashed by this slap. It was obvious that she didn't care about human lives. Li Changsheng's eyes flashed with chilling light. He stood still while the giant bone snake king took a step forward and blasted fist over. Wei Shitong didn't take the giant bone snake king's fist seriously at first. After all, she was a Vajra realm martial expert. In the entire sea, only those demonic king-class martial experts could make her apprehensive. The giant bone snake king might look sinister, but she didn't take it seriously. She didn't even care about the giant bone snake king's fist. She just changed the direction at the last moment and slapped the giant bone snake king instead of Li Changsheng. Suddenly, the giant bone snake king's fist emitted a cloud of black mist, and a sinister bone snake condensed from the black mist. The giant bone snake king was a finger-profound realm martial expert with terrifying strength. It might just be a casual punch, but the power that burst out was terrifying. In an instant, a sinister and ice-cold aura pervaded the air. Wei Shitong's expression changed drastically. She hurriedly withdrew her palm and turned it into a defense, wanting to block the giant bone snake king's attack. However, no matter how she changed her palm, the giant bone snake king just blasted a fist over. That black bone snake let out a strange sound, which made Wei Shitong's mind waver. She felt impatient and frustrated, and a kind of despair rose in her heart. She had broken through to the Vajra realm not long ago and was insufferably arrogant. She felt that there were very few people in the world who could compare with her. But now, under the giant bone snake king's fist, she completely felt how insignificant she was. She was as powerless as a small boat in front of storm. It's over. Just as this thought arose in her mind, she felt an intense pain coming from her chest. She crashed through 2 walls and flew out of the inn. Chapter 793. A mournful scream reverberated in the sky. In the restaurant ahead, the dishes were already on the table, waiting for Wei Shitong's return. But at this moment, there was a sudden scream. It's a woman's voice, and it sounds like Wei Shitong's voice. Du Guanzhao, Gu Shang, and Zhou Wan's expressions changed at the same time. Then, they quickly rushed to the backyard. Yuemo was also shocked. Wei Shitong was already a Vajra realm martial expert. If she still couldn't defeat that existence in the backyard, then his previous decision was obviously the right one. They quickly rushed to the back and saw Wei Shitong lying on the ground with blood spurting out her mouth. "Shitong, how are you?" Zhou Wan and the other 2 hurriedly went over to help Wei Shitong up. Then they saw a human-shaped hole in the ground. "Who was it that injured you? I'll avenge you," Gu Shang said angrily. His face was filled with murderous intent. He and Wei Shitong had grown up as childhood sweethearts. When he saw Wei Shitong injured like this, he was instantly enraged. It's the follower of the person who lives on the 2nd floor. He should already be at the finger-profound realm, Wei Shitong said with difficulty. Although she really hoped that Gu Shang would be able to avenge her, The moment she thought of the other party's strength, her heart turned cold. So what if he is at the Finger Profound realm? My Punlai Island has Finger Profound realm experts. Could it be that we are afraid of him? Although Gu Shang said so, he stopped in his tracks. He was only at the Vajrar realm. If he encountered a Finger Profound realm martial artist, he would definitely die. Although he was a disciple of Punlai Island and was usually high and mighty, he wouldn't foolishly send himself to his death. Hearing that the giant Bone Snake King was actually at the mysterious realm, Umo immediately rejoiced in his heart. Fortunately, he had restrained the killing intent in his heart at that time. Otherwise, if a conflict had really occurred, he might have already lost his life. Then what should we do now? Could it be that Sherdong was beaten up for nothing? Du Guanzhao said angrily. My Punlai Island's elder by Cha will also be coming tomorrow. It won't be too late to teach him a lesson then. Zhouan said. However, there are two of them while Elder by Cha is alone. He might not be able to gain the upper hand. Du Guanzhao shook his head. It's fine. Elder by Cha alone is enough. Between the two of them, only his follower is stronger. The young man's strength is mediocre. Wei Shirtong said with difficulty as she clutched her chest. All right, then we'll let him live for another day. Gu Shang said angrily. The few of them returned to the restaurant in front of them. They were no longer in the mood to drink, nor did they dare to stay in the inn in the backyard. Instead, they found another inn nearby and asked Umo to help them keep an eye on Li Changsheng. Master, that guy from the Silver Shar clan actually dared to send his subordinates to spy on us. Do you want me to get rid of them? The giant Bone Snake King asked Li Changsheng for instructions. There's no need for that. I believe that after beating up the younger ones, they will definitely look for the elders of the sect. It just so happens that I want to meet the people from Punlai Island. I would just have to wait patiently. The next morning, Li Changsheng and the giant Bone Snake King went to the place where the treasures were being auctioned. Today, the sea market was even more lively. People were coming and going, and there were many powerful auras. It seemed that the treasures being auctioned this time were indeed extraordinary. Otherwise, it wouldn't have attracted so many experts. Under the guidance of the giant Bone Snake King, Li Changsheng came to a magnificent building. He saw a wooden plaque with the words Treasure Pavilion written in ancient Oracle bone script. Looking at the plaque, he could feel a powerful aura coming from it, indicating that the person who inscribed the words was extraordinary. This treasure pavilion was the largest magical treasure trading place in the sea market. Every once in a while, an auction would be held. It was rumored that the owner of the treasure pavilion came from the Three Immortal Island. Of course, the giant Bone Snake King didn't know the details. At this moment, although it was still early in the morning, many people had already gathered at the entrance of the treasure pavilion. From time to time, there would be powerful auras descending and walking quickly into the treasure pavilion. There were also some rare exotic beasts pulling carriages. There was even an old Taoist who appeared riding on a flood dragon, causing a heated discussion. That's the master of the Purple Cloud Monastery. I remember that the last time I saw him, his mount was only a tiger. Now, he actually caught a flood dragon. The Flood Dragon clan is a famous existence in the sea. Although the Purple Cloud Monastery is powerful, he dared to catch a flood dragon as a mount. Isn't he afraid that the elders will come and kill him? I heard that this flood dragon is a descendant of the White Flood Dragon clan. It was captured by the master of the Purple Cloud Monastery. The White Flood Dragon clan provoked a powerful existence some time ago and was annihilated. The descendants of the clan who were stranded outside lost their backing. Not only Dawa's Purple Cloud, but many cultivators also chose to capture the White Flood Dragon clan as their mounts. After all, riding a dragon is the dream of many people. How awesome is that? Hearing the discussions around him, he realized that the Flood Dragon clan members who were reduced to mounts were related to him. If he didn't annihilate the White Flood Dragon King's residence, causing the White Flood Dragons to lose their backing, they wouldn't have been reduced to mounts. However, Li Changsheng didn't feel guilty. The White Flood Dragon clan provoked him first. They only had themselves to blame for ending up like this. Sighing in his heart, Li Changsheng was about to step into the precious treasure pavilion when he was blocked by a burly guard. Today, the precious treasure pavilion will be holding an auction. Only those with an invitation can enter. Otherwise, please forgive me for not letting you in, the guard said expressionlessly. However, just as he finished speaking, the giant bone snake king had already taken a step forward. He raised his hand and grabbed the guard's neck. Under the endless black gas, the guard was lifted into the air. How dare you stop my master? Are you tired of living? Giant Bone, don't hurt him, Li Changsheng hurriedly said. The demon clan respected strength. An expert like the giant bone snake king had always been domineering and wouldn't tolerate any disobedience. The guard was thrown to the ground by the giant bone snake king. Tongue, tongue, tongue. He took a few steps back and his face was filled with shock. When he was surrounded by the black gas, he had a feeling that he would die at any moment. Only then did he know that this black-robed man wasn't someone to be trifled with. Are you still going to stop me now? The giant bone snake king looked at the guard with cold eyes. The guard was taught a lesson by the giant bone snake king, but he didn't dare to show anger. Instead, he immediately became respectful. The rule of not being able to enter without an invitation was only restricted to martial artists below the Vajra realm. Martial artists above the Vajra realm were all formidable martial artists that roamed unhindered in the sea region. Even the boss of the precious treasure pavilion would have to be courteous, let alone him. The giant bone snake king's strength was definitely at the Vajra realm. How would the guard dare to stop him? The giant bone serpent king's display of strength had not only intimidated the guards at the gate, it had also intimidated the cultivators coming and going. Such a terrifying aura. Could he be a Vajra realm expert? I don't think so. Even an ordinary Vajra realm expert doesn't have such deterrence. I'm afraid he is at the late stage or even the peak stage of the Vajra realm. This person's aura is filled with evil. His hands are stained with blood. We can't afford to offend him. Amidst the discussions, a plump middle-aged man walked out and asked coldly, "What happened?" The guard immediately went up and explained the situation. After hearing it, the guard didn't get angry at all. Instead, he squeezed out a smile and respectfully cupped his hands towards the giant bone snake king. "It was my treasure pavilion's guard who was blind and offended you, sir. Please forgive us." The precious treasure pavilion might have a resounding reputation in the sea market, but servants like them were ultimately just servants. Perhaps only the precious treasure pavilion's behind-the-scenes boss had the qualifications to be arrogant in front of a Vajra realm expert. I am just helping my master to teach your subordinate a lesson. As for whether I offended you or not, it is not up to me. It is up to my master to make the decision. After the giant bone snake king finished speaking, he took a step back and revealed Li Changsheng, who was standing behind him. That middle-aged man was instantly shocked. If such a powerful person was only a subordinate, then what kind of status did his master have? Chapter 794. He sized up Li Changsheng a few times, but didn't see anything different, especially the yellow ox following behind Li Changsheng. It was cowering and trembling all over, which made him even more puzzled. However, he didn't dare to ask this question out loud. He could only keep it in his heart and made an inviting gesture. "It's the honor of my precious treasures pavilion for Sir to enter with such a noble status. Please." Li Changsheng nodded and walked inside. Seeing that the yellow ox was about to be led into the precious treasures pavilion by Li Changsheng, the guard was about to speak when he was glared at by the manager. Logically speaking, ordinary mounts and demonic beasts were not allowed to be brought into the precious treasures pavilion. However, there were exceptions to everything. In this boundless sea, strength reigned supreme. As long as one had strength, not to mention bringing a demonic beast, even a manager here would be willing to kneel down and be your mount. "Sir, although you don't have an invitation, a distinguished guest like you should sit in the VIP seats." The manager respectfully brought Li Changsheng and Li Changsheng to a private room on the second floor. As the private room wasn't spacious, the yellow ox was a little too crowded after entering. Just as the other party was hesitating whether to remind Li Changsheng that there was a special place for demonic beasts in the backyard, he saw Li Changsheng wave his hand. The yellow ox had already disappeared into thin air and was kept in his sleeve. This scene made the manager's eyes shine. At first, he was still doubting Li Changsheng's cultivation, but with this move, he was truly shocked. Spatial magic wasn't something that just anyone could know, other than those exotic beasts that had an innate grasp of spatial laws. Those who could comprehend spatial laws were probably only at the finger-profound realm. Not to mention him, even a giant bone snake king was secretly shocked. When Li Changsheng used the heaven and earth sleeve, the surrounding space didn't fluctuate at all. This meant that his grasp of spatial laws had reached a fine level. Sir's cultivation is so profound. It's really an eye-opener for me. The fat manager's face had a hint of flattery. His name was Wang Tong. In the entire treasure pavilion, there were more than 10 stewards like him. They would only personally attend to the truly important guests. Now, Li Changsheng had already been listed as an important guest by him. After Li Changsheng sat down, Wang Tong immediately ordered the servants to serve the tea and fruits. "Sir, do you have anything you wish to purchase from Zhenbao Pavilion? In addition to the mysterious treasures that will be auctioned this time, my treasure pavilion also collects all kinds of treasures in the world, such as the body-tempering pill that can purify the bloodline of demonic beasts. Do you have many body-tempering pills here?" Li Changsheng's interest was indeed piqued. That day, when he told Yellow Ox that he wanted Yellow Ox to become a peerless demon like Lei Xiao, he wasn't just joking. Although the Yellow Ox was a bit timid, it was very loyal. Li Changsheng liked it very much. If he could buy some body-quenching pills to help it improve its bloodline, Li Changsheng was also willing to do so. Although body-quenching pills couldn't be considered very precious among the various types of pills, each one was not cheap either. Our treasure pavilion has dozens of body-tempering pills. I wonder how many body-tempering pills would Senior like to buy? If you want to feed Yellow Ox, you only need 1 or 2 body-tempering pills. Hearing Wang Tong's words, Li Changsheng pondered for a moment, then asked, "Can you give me more details? How many body-tempering pills are there in total?" "About 60 body-tempering pills." Wang Tong was puzzled. For ordinary demonic beasts, 1 body-tempering pill is enough. 2 body-tempering pills is already a luxury. Could it be that the other party bought all the body-tempering pills in the treasure pavilion? Could it be that he raised a group of mounts? How much would 60 body-tempering pills cost? If you want to barter, you need a low-grade magic tool. If you want to barter with spirit stones, 1 body-tempering pill would cost 100 low-grade spirit stones. Hearing Wang Tong's words, Li Changsheng frowned. He did have some treasures in his Chinquan bag, but he couldn't take them out to barter. The Heart Wishful Sword, the stone seal he obtained from the Zhenwu ruins, and the Ardent Dragon Spear he obtained from the White Flood Dragon clan. These things were too precious. He didn't have any low-grade spirit tools. As for spirit stones, he didn't have any. "I'm really poor." Seeing Li Changsheng's frown, Wang Tong thought that his price was too high. He immediately smiled and said, "This is the price I quoted to the public. If Senior needs it, naturally there will be preferential treatment." Everyone in the treasure pavilion was good at reading people's expressions. The giant bone snake king's strength was so strong, but from beginning to end, it was very respectful towards Li Changsheng. Wang Tong also saw that the giant bone snake king's respect towards Li Changsheng was not an act. He was even more respectful towards Li Changsheng. 100 low-grade spirit stones for 1 body-tempering pill. Your business is quite fair. Li Changsheng nodded. He didn't say anything else. He was embarrassingly short of money, so he could only think of other ways to get body-tempering pills and help Yellow Ox increase his strength. "If Milord wants the body-tempering pills, I can sell them to you for 90 low-grade spirit stones each. This price is already close to the lowest price of my treasure pavilion. If Milord has low-grade magic tools, or the like, I can help Milord to reduce the price. What do you think?" Wang Tong carefully said. Li Changsheng asked how much stock the treasure pavilion had. He was treated as a big customer, not to mention selling 60 body-tempering pills. Even if he sold 10, he would be able to complete this month's sales. It could be considered a big deal. Okay, I got it. Let's talk later, Li Changsheng casually said. Wang Tong didn't dare to say anything more. He could only wait at the side. Li Changsheng stroked his chin, thinking about how to get some spirit stones. Otherwise, he was too short on money. He couldn't always let the giant bone snake king pay for it. He thought about the many battles in the past where he destroyed all the spirit tools that he didn't care about. Now that he thought about it, if he had held back a little at that time and seized those spirit tools, it would have been a considerable amount of wealth. He really didn't know how expensive the daily necessities were. If he didn't come to the sea market, he wouldn't know that those spirit tools were all shining silver. Wang Tong, I asked you to entertain the guests of the treasure pavilion, but you're nowhere to be seen. At this time, a slightly angry voice sounded. A man wearing a Taoist robe walked over in large strides. When he saw Li Changsheng and the giant bone snake king sitting in the VIP box, he couldn't help but frown. He called Wang Tong outside and asked in a low voice, Wang Tong, what's the matter with you? The number of VIP boxes in my treasure pavilion is limited. How can you casually arrange people here? There are many important people coming to the treasure auction this time. If there aren't enough VIP seats, can you bear this responsibility? Manager Yang, the two inside are very likely to be experts at the peak of the Vajra realm. I didn't arrange them in the VIP box wrong, right? Manager Yang immediately glared at Wang Tong when he heard what he said. What? You still dare talk back? So what if they're at the Vajra realm? Normally, Vajra realm experts are considered experts. But today, there are quite a few finger-profound realm experts. You arranged them in the VIP box. Even if you didn't do anything wrong, you shouldn't have stayed behind to serve them. The number of managers in my treasure pavilion is limited. In a while, the immortal from Penglai Island will be here. You should quickly leave and find a servant to wait outside. But the immortal inside wants to buy 60 body-tempering pills. This is a big deal. Wang Tong still wasn't willing to give up. 60 body-tempering pills? Manager Yang immediately sneered. I'm afraid he's just teasing you, right? Who would buy 60 body-tempering pills for no reason? Don't tell me he has 60 juniors who want to purify their bloodlines? It seems like he wants to give it to his mount. Huh? Mount? What kind of mount can eat 60 body-tempering pills in one go? You too. You're usually quite clever. Why are you so silly today? After lecturing Wang Tong, Manager Yang stepped into the box and bowed to Li Changsheng. VIP, I'm really sorry. Today, my treasure pavilion is a little busy. I need Manager Wang's help. I'll immediately change someone to serve you. It's fine. Li Changsheng nodded slightly. Manager Yang then walked out of the door. Chapter 795. A white-robed, middle-aged woman walked over. The moment she appeared, 5 to 6 managers of the precious treasure pavilion went up to welcome her. Manager Yang was one of them. This white-robed woman was none other than Elder Bai Cha from Penglai Island. Behind her, Zhou Wan, Du Guanzhao, Gu Shang, and Wei Shidong followed closely behind. The young master of the Silver Shar clan, Umo, was here as well. Elder Bai, your presence truly brings light to my precious treasure pavilion. Manager Yang had a fawning expression as he walked over. Wang Tong and the other managers behind him bowed to Bai Cha. No need to be so polite, Bai Cha calmly replied. He directly walked up to the second floor and came to a luxurious private room. The private rooms on the second floor were separated into different grades. For example, the private room that Wang Tong led Li Changsheng into belonged to the lowest grade. As for the private room that Bai Cha was in, it was the most luxurious private room. After sitting down, Manager Yang personally served Bai Cha. Wang Tong and the other managers were also at the door. Such treatment wasn't bad at all. Wei Shidong was injured by the giant bone snake king yesterday, but she had already recovered today. This was the strength of cultivators. As long as they didn't die, no matter how serious their injuries were, they would be able to recover. Young clan head Umo, are you sure that the person who injured Shirtong also entered the precious treasure pavilion? I'm sure. Umo nodded. According to my subordinate's report, the person who injured Shirtong was brought in by a manager called Wang Tong. Hearing Yumo's words, Bai Cha immediately turned to Manager Yang. Manager Yang, I wonder if there's a manager called Wang Tong in your precious treasure pavilion? Yes, he is waiting at the door. As he spoke, Manager Liu called Wang Tong, who was waiting outside. Lord Bai Cha has something to ask you. As the sound of his voice faded, Wang Tong quickly walked in. Greetings to Lord Bai Cha. Greetings to Manager Yang. Wang Tong, I want to ask you. Not long ago, did you receive a guest? He had a subordinate who was covered in black robes and even had a bull with him. Yes. Wang Tong hurriedly nodded. That guest was in the second-floor private room. Could it be that he is acquainted with Lord Bai Cha? Wang Tong's heart was filled with joy. If the other party knew the elder of Penglai Island, it meant that he had really met a big shot. I don't know him, but he has some conflict with my junior. All right, you can leave. Bai Cha waved his hand. Warden walked to the door with a suspicious look. Not long after, Manager Yang walked out. Wang Tong hurriedly stepped forward and asked, Manager Yang, what's going on? Oomph. Manager Yang's face darkened. Wang Tong, oh Wang Tong, sometimes when I criticize you, you don't take it seriously. That young man in the second Earth room has a grudge against Elder Bai Cha, and you even brought him to the VIP room. This is considered as offending the people of Penglai Island. Let's see what you can do. What? Wang Tong's face instantly changed. He actually has a grudge against someone from Penglai Island. In an instant, his heart was filled with extreme regret. If he had known earlier, he would not have entertained Li Changsheng and the others, even if he was beaten to death. Then what should I do? Wang Tong wiped off the cold sweat on his head. Leave it to the heavens. I only hope that Lord Bai Cha from Penglai Island can't be bothered to bicker with a small shrimp like you. Otherwise, you will definitely have to bear the consequences. At this moment, the auction of the precious treasure pavilion had already started. Every VIP room had a formation activated. The wall in front gradually turned transparent, and one could clearly see the auction items on the first floor. On the highest platform in the center of the first floor, a beautiful maid walked up with an exquisitely decorated wooden box in her hands. When the wooden box was placed on the table and opened, there was a small cauldron carved from jade inside. It was sparkling and translucent, looking extremely beautiful. There was a formation engraved inside. It was a mid-grade magic treasure. This cauldron is called the Jewel Cauldron. It is carved from cold jade dug out from the depths of the earth. It can be used for both offense and defense, and its power is boundless. The starting bid is 100 peak-grade spirit stones. Hearing the host bid, Li Changsheng couldn't help but be speechless. 100 peak-grade spirit stones were equivalent to 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. 110 peak-grade spirit stones. As soon as the host finished speaking, someone immediately bid 120 peak-grade spirit stones. 130 peak-grade spirit stones. The price continued to soar. 200 peak-grade spirit stones. At this moment, a woman's voice rang out. The auction hall instantly fell into silence. Although this jade cauldron was good, not everyone could take out 200 peak-grade spirit stones. Who was the bidder? Li Changsheng was also very curious about the woman's voice. He looked at the servant beside him who was in charge of serving him. The voice came from the top VIP room of our precious treasure pavilion. It should be Lord White Tea from Penglai Island. Someone from Penglai Island? Li Changsheng touched his chin and thought to himself, they are really rich. If it was someone from another faction, Li Changsheng, who was now poor, wouldn't mind robbing them. However, Penglai Island was different. He still had to ask Penglai Island about the secret of leaving this world. Therefore, he could only suppress this thought. The Jewel Cauldron brought the auction to the peak at the beginning. The next few treasures were much inferior. The second item to be auctioned was a Chinquin bag with a storage space of 10 cubic meters. However, Li Changsheng wasn't interested in it. There was a limit to what could be stored in 10 cubic meters. Only demons who didn't know how to refine weapons would scramble for it. In addition to the Chinquin bag, there was also a similar interspatial ring. The prices were not cheap. The remaining low-level magic artifacts couldn't catch Li Changxing's attention at all. Very quickly, the final treasure appeared on the stage. Next, we will auction the heavyweight treasure, the Mountain River Ruler. As soon as the host finished speaking, 6 strong men carried a wooden box and walked down. Each of them was extremely strained. However, when the wooden box was opened, there was only a black iron ruler that was more than 20 centimeters long inside. When the ruler was placed on the table made of fine iron actually made a cracking sound. It was obvious how heavy this Mountain River ruler was. As soon as this ruler appeared, it was obvious that everyone's eyes became heated. This Mountain River ruler is a treasure that was dug out from the bottom of the sea not long ago. The grade of the magic treasure is unknown. After judgment, it is very likely to be a spirit artifact. As soon as the host finished speaking, there was an uproar. Magic treasures could be divided into 6 grades according to quality. From low to high, there were magic artifacts, spirit artifacts, treasure artifacts, Taoist artifacts, immortal artifacts, and supreme artifacts. At that time, the Jewel Cauldron was only a mid-level magic artifact and was already so valuable. If this Mountain River ruler was a spirit artifact, its price would probably reach an astronomical figure. Sure enough, after the host introduced the origin of the Mountain River ruler, he said, the starting price is 100,000 supreme-level spirit stones. As soon as he finished speaking, many people in the field gasped. 1 supreme-level spirit stone was equivalent to 1,000 low-level spirit stones. 100,000 supreme-level spirit stones were equivalent to 100 million low-level spirit stones. This Mountain River ruler looked simple and unadorned. The image of mountains and rivers was engraved on it. According to the host's introduction, it could generate a gravity of thousands of tons by activating its magic power. It could directly crush the enemy and also be used for protection. With this magic treasure, one's combat power would immediately increase by several levels. Even Li Changxing's eyes were burning, because he found that this Mountain River ruler might not be a spirit artifact. It might be a legendary treasure artifact. It was a treasure artifact of a higher level than Li Changxing's Heart Wishful Sword and Scorching Dragon Spear. Chapter 796. With the appearance of the Mountain and River ruler, countless people in the field were tempted. It was a spiritual weapon, which was enough to be the heirloom of many sections. It was extremely difficult to refine it with one's own strength. 110,000 supreme-level spirit stones. An old voice raised the price first. As soon as the voice came out, countless eyes focused on the old man. The old man was wearing linen clothes and holding a walking stick in his hand. He looked ordinary, but he could offer such a price. Everyone thought that only those in the VIP seats were qualified to compete for the Mountain and River ruler. The old man opened his mouth to attract attention. Immediately, a second person raised the price. 120,000. As expected, it came from the VIP box. 130,000. The price was still rising. Even Li Changxing began to be tempted and looked at the giant bone snake king next to him. The giant bone snake king instantly understood what Li Changxing meant. He threw out a chinquin bag and said to the subordinate in charge of serving him, "Go and exchange it for spirit stones." The giant bone snake king was a profound realm expert. In addition, he had been in the Demon League for a long time and had accumulated a lot of wealth. At this moment, in order to please Li Changxing, he took out all of it. The attendant nodded and immediately went to inform the steward in charge of exchanging spirit stones. Soon, a man with a goatee walked over quickly. After entering the door, he didn't take it seriously at first. When he picked up the chinquin bag and penetrated his divine sense into it, he was immediately shocked. "Do all the artifacts in here have to be exchanged for spirit stones?" he asked. "Yes." The giant bone snake king nodded. The steward took out the items in the chinquin bag one by one. After recording them, he took a deep breath and said, "These artifacts and low-level spirit stones can be exchanged for a total of 300,000 supreme-level spirit stones." As soon as he finished speaking, Even Li Changsheng was a little surprised. The giant bone Snake King's wealth was beyond his imagination. 180,000 supreme-level spirit stones. The bidding outside reached a peak again. The price soared. 200,000. With the giant bone Snake King's wealth, Li Changsheng was instantly emboldened. He also said 210,000. Although a spiritual weapon was very valuable, 200,000 top-level spirit stones was already an astronomical figure. It could be said that the price would exceed its value. Li Changsheng knew that this was not a spiritual artifact, but most likely a precious artifact, so he increased the price. However, to Li Changsheng's surprise, when he raised the bid to 210,000, someone else spoke up after a few seconds of silence. 250,000. 300,000. As soon as this price was announced, it was earth-shattering. Even Li Changsheng couldn't help being surprised. 300,000 top-grade spirit stones. This was already the limit he could take out right now, unless he sold the Ru Exine Immortal Sword or the Ardent Dragon Spear. Of course, that was impossible. Not to mention the uniqueness of the Ardent Dragon Spear. Even the Heart's Wishful Sword was nurtured by Li Changsheng as a life source flying sword. Its potential was limitless, and its future achievements might not be lower than the Mountain River Ruler. 350,000. Someone increased the price again. 300,000 top-level spirit stones was already an astronomical figure, but no one expected that someone would increase the price. The person who increased the price was the old man in sackcloth who spoke first. As soon as he finished speaking, the whole place fell into silence, and no one competed with him. This ruler is this old man's. The old man in sackcloth threw a chinquin bag directly to the steward in charge, and then strode to the high platform, reaching out to take the Mountain River Ruler. However, before his hand could touch the Mountain River Ruler, a sharp sword light descended from the sky, and the old man hurriedly took 2 steps back. The sword light drew a straight line under his feet. Bewitching old man, I didn't expect you to come too. A bell-like voice was heard, and a middle-aged woman in a red robe descended from the sky and landed on the high platform, blocking the path of the old man in sackcloth. Householder Lianxin, what is the meaning of this? Bewitching old man stared at the woman in front of him with a hint of fear in his eyes. What? I have already bid for the Mountain River Ruler, and you still want to snatch it from me? Hearing the old man's words, Householder Lianxin only chuckled. Bewitching old man, since I am here, don't you know what I mean? Oomph. Bewitching old man sneered in disdain. Householder Lianxin, you are referring to the mystic realm, but don't forget that I am referring to the mystic realm as well. You want to snatch my item? Aren't you scheming? In an instant, a sharp aura spread out from the old man's body. If I was alone, I wouldn't dare to do anything to you, bewitching old man. As soon as Householder Lianxin finished speaking, several figures appeared from all directions, and each of them had a powerful aura. As these people appeared, bewitching old man's face turned ugly. With bewitching old man's eyesight, how could he not see that these people were referring to the mystic realm? He even recognized a few of them: Taoist Master Jin Ding, Sword Artist Jin Long, Tong Xinghuan, and Taoist Master Tai Xian. Bewitching old man's face turned even uglier. These people were the powerhouses among the rogue cultivators in the sea region, and there were actually 10 of them. What is the meaning of this? Bewitching old man looked at the middle-aged man in luxurious clothes standing on the second floor. It was Xiahou Fu, the Precious Treasure Pavilion's pavilion master. My Precious Treasure Pavilion does business in the sea region, but we don't earn much in a year. I originally planned to close down, but I didn't expect to come across this ancient treasure, the Mountain River Ruler. So, I decided to discuss a big deal with you. Of course, I wouldn't put such a powerful Mountain River Ruler up for auction. It's just a bait. As soon as Xiahou Fu finished speaking, he raised his hand, and the Mountain River Ruler flew into his hand. Upon hearing his words, everyone's expression changed. He had used the Mountain and River Ruler to attract people to bid for it. Once he figured out who the fat sheep were, he would directly snatch them. Based on the intense bidding just now, the spirit stones he had collected would definitely be a shocking sum. Who would have thought that the reputable Precious Treasure Pavilion would do such a thing? Xiaoho Fu, your Precious Treasure Pavilion is a reputable shop. How could you do such a thing? Aren't you afraid of causing public outrage? Huh. Xiaoho Fu couldn't help but shake his head and chuckle. Bewitching old man. Do you even believe your own words? With our top 10 experts gathered together, which force in the world would dare to go against us? The cultivation world has always been a place where the strong prey on the weak. As long as this shocking wealth is in my hands, I will soon break through to the peak of the mystic realm. At that time, even the island master of the three immortal island will have to treat me with respect. Bewitching old man, leave the 350,000 spirit stones that you want to buy the mountain river ruler. Since we are both mystic realm experts, we won't make things difficult for you. Chapter 797. Hearing Xiaoho Fu's words, bewitching old man was still unwilling. 350,000 top-grade spirit stones was his entire fortune. How could he bear to let it be robbed just like that? However, if he chose to fight against 10-finger profound realm experts, he might not even be able to keep his life. After hesitating for a while, he finally chose to submit and stood aside obediently. Everyone, take the initiative to hand over your Chinquin bags and storage rings. I will search them in a while. If anyone dares to hide them, think about whether your life or money is more important. Xiaoho Fu said coldly. They actually want to rob everyone. I thought this treasure pavilion had a good reputation. I didn't expect it to be a black shop. This Xiaoho Fu is simply too despicable. He doesn't have any face at all. I came to the auction this time and brought all my wealth with me. Now, I'm going to go bankrupt. Many cultivators below were discussing animatedly, but no matter if it was the human clan or the demon clan, no one stood out to resist. After all, those were 10-finger profound realm cultivators. After these people handed over their Chinquin bags, they all stood aside obediently. However, those who handed over their items were ordinary cultivators on the first floor. There was no movement from the VIP rooms on the second floor. Those who could enter the VIP rooms were either very strong themselves or came from some powerful forces. These people were all very confident and wouldn't be intimidated so easily. Seeing that there was no movement from the VIP rooms, Xiaoho Fu and the others looked at each other. They first looked at the two most luxurious VIP rooms. For this plan, the people in the VIP rooms were their targets. After all, the ordinary guests had limited spirit stones and artifacts on them, but the people in the VIP rooms were all filthy rich. Feeling the gaze of Xiaoho Fu and the others, after a moment of silence, one of the VIP rooms finally reacted. The door of the VIP room opened and a few figures in white walked out. They were Bai Cha and the others from Penglai Island. Pavilion Master Xiaoho, you are also from Three Immortal Island. Don't tell me you want to rob Penglai Island's things too? Although Bai Cha was at the finger profound realm and possessed extraordinary strength, under such circumstances, he did not dare to fall out with Xiaoho Fu and the others. He could only bring out his identity as a member of Penglai Island, hoping that the other party would be fearful. Sure enough, as soon as she opened her mouth, Xiaoho Fu laughed and said, "So it's Elder Bai Cha. Penglai Island is the leader of the Three Immortal Islands, and I am a disciple of the Three Immortal Islands. Of course, I won't make things difficult for the people of Penglai Island. Later, as long as Elder Bai Cha agrees not to get involved in standby, I will guarantee the safety of the people of Penglai Island." Hearing that Xiaoho Fu didn't intend to rob her, Bai Cha let out a long sigh of relief. She didn't have any treasures with her this time. The Three Immortal Island was too famous at sea, so Xiaoho Fu didn't want to offend them. One less person wouldn't affect them much. Of the two most luxurious VIP rooms, other than Bai Cha's room, there was also some movement. The door opened, and a white-haired old man walked out. That old man's eyes were bulging. He was 2 meters tall, had a big nose, and had an overbearing aura. As soon as he appeared, many people recognized his identity. He was a great elder of the Demon Ox clan from Dali. So it's Elder Barbarian Yo. After seeing the old man, Xiahou Fu cupped his hands. The old man was also a finger-profound realm expert, so Xiahou Fu's attitude towards him could be considered polite. Who would have thought that the old man didn't give him any face and coldly shouted, "Pavilion Master Xiahou, you've made a mistake by robbing me. Quickly open the door and let this old man leave. Otherwise, don't blame this old man for turning hostile." Hearing Demon Ox's words, the smile on Xiahou Fu's face suddenly disappeared and became gloomy. "Elder Nyo, hand over your Chinquin bag. After this matter is over, we'll let you and bewitching old man leave unscathed." "Bullshit. Why should I give you my things?" Xiahou Fu's words were interrupted by Barbarian Nyo. "It seems like Elder Barbarian Nyo won't give me any face." As soon as his voice fell, Xiahou Fu gave a signal with his eyes, and 4 figures flew out. The middle-aged woman, householder Lian Exen, the Purple Cloud Monastery Master, Taoist Tai Xian, who had a huge sword on his back, and Taoist Jin Ding, who had a small cauldron in his hand. At this moment, the 4 of them attacked and surrounded Barbarian Nyo in an instant. Barbarian Nyo's body technique was very powerful. He was able to force householder Lian Exen back with 1 punch. But after a few moves, he fell into a disadvantageous position. Soon, another finger-profound realm expert joined the battle. Under the siege of 5 finger-profound realm experts, Barbarian Nyo lasted for 10 minutes before he was hit by the horsetail whisk of the Purple Cloud Monastery Master. In the end, Taoist Tai Xian pierced his heart meridian with his sword. A dignified finger-profound realm expert actually fell just like that. When Barbarian Nyo died, the few VIP rooms that were still watching came out one after another and handed over their Chinquin bags. A wise man submits to circumstances. If you don't want to end up like Elder Barbarian Nyo, then you should be tactful. Many of the Precious Treasure Pavilion's managers were at a loss. They didn't know that their boss was plotting such a shocking scheme. With Barbarian Nyo as an example, Xiahou Fu's threat was very effective. Soon, the guests from the VIP rooms came out one after another. In the end, only one room didn't respond. That room was the second Earth room. Bai Cha's face revealed a bit of surprise. Almost all the rooms have come out, but they didn't respond. Could it be that they are still stubbornly resisting? Interesting. At this moment, everyone's gaze was on Li Changxing's room. This room seems to have bid 250,000 top-grade spirit stones. It's second only to Bewitching Old Man. Householder Lian Exen said to Xiahou Fu, "It's a big fat sheep." Xiahou Fu looked towards the box where Li Changxing and the others were and said in a clear voice, "Guests from the second Earth box, please come out. If you still don't come out, then I'll personally send someone to invite all of you." A few seconds later, the door of the room finally opened slowly. Li Changxing and the giant bone snake king walked out together. "Why did you call me out if you don't know?" Li Changxing stretched his body as if he had just woken up. When he glanced at the pile of Chinquin bags at Xiahou Fu's feet, his eyes couldn't help but reveal a bit of passion. "This is a shocking amount of wealth. Friend, why do you have to play dumb? Hand over your spirit stones," Xiahou Fu said coldly. Even Demon Bull from the second heaven room was killed. He didn't think that a guest from the second Earth room could cause any changes. "Hand them over? That's impossible." Li Changxing shrugged his shoulders. "But you have prepared so many gifts for me. I feel a bit embarrassed." "What gifts?" Xiahou Fu and everyone else present couldn't react for a moment. "Of course, it's the pile of Chinquin bags at your feet. It just so happens that I am embarrassed recently. I will kindly accept these things." Chapter 799. As soon as Li Changxing finished speaking, everyone looked at him as if he was an idiot. Everyone coveted that pile of Chinquin pouches, but not everyone could be the Oriole. Didn't this youth see that even Bewitching Old Man had bowed his head and admitted defeat? Didn't Elder Neo of the Demon Ox clan get killed because he didn't cooperate? Sure enough, Xiahou Fu was stunned for a moment before he sneered. "Brat, who gave you the courage? You actually dared to peep at the spirit stones under my feet. I'll give you 3 seconds to think about it. Obediently hand over all your magic weapons and spirit stones. Otherwise, you'll end up like Elder Niu. Everyone's eyes were focused on Li Changsheng. Some were surprised, some were sneering, some were regretful, and some were shaking their heads. The strength of 10 profound finger experts was terrifying. That Elder Niu was a profound finger expert, but he still got his heart pierced by a sword. 10, 9, 8. Xiao Fu had already started the countdown. However, Li Changsheng had a faint smile on his face from beginning to end, as if he didn't see anything. This time, even the other profound finger experts couldn't help but reveal killing intent on their faces. No one had thought that even the people in the 2 largest VIP boxes would be willing to watch the fire burn across the river, and the other would be killed by them. On the contrary, the person in the second Earth box actually didn't put them in his eyes. Even bewitching old man couldn't help but shake his head. He felt that Li Changsheng was somewhat ignorant. 1. Finally, Xiao Fu's countdown ended, and he was about to make his move. The man next to him had already stood up. It was Taoist priest Tai Xian who had pierced Elder Niu's heart with a sword. It seems that you really think I'm a pushover. Li Changsheng looked at Taoist priest Tai Xian who had stood up with a sneer. I gave you face, but you didn't want it. This old Taoist will send you on your way. Taoist priest Tai Xian sneered. He held the huge sword that was almost as tall as him in his hand, and a powerful aura spread out. Li Changsheng didn't speak anymore. He just raised his hand and suddenly slapped Taoist priest Tai Xian. No one had thought that he would dare to make the first move. Boom! A huge handprint formed in the sky and pressed down on Taoist Tai Xian. Break! Taoist Tieshuan's expression changed slightly. He didn't expect Li Changsheng to be so strong. The huge black iron sword slashed out a sword light with a powerful sharpness. But soon, Taoist priest Tai Xian's eyes were filled with shock. When his black iron sword struck the palm, it was actually unable to break through the power of the palm. Instead, it was dispelled by the palm. Taoist priest Tai Xian was slapped to the ground, and no matter how he struggled, he couldn't break free. The palm fell bit by bit, and Taoist Tieshuan's face turned purple. Blood began to flow from the corner of his mouth. Do you still think I'm a pushover? Li Changsheng looked down at Taoist Tai Xian, who was crawling on the ground. You're courting death. Taoist priest Tai Xian's eyes were blood red and filled with anger. A black aura continued to rise from his body. He gripped the huge sword in his hand tightly. There was a powerful force brewing on the huge sword. Unfortunately, under the pressure of the palm, the power could not be released. Kacha! The palm suddenly pressed down, and a crack appeared on the ground. Taoist priest Tai Xian's mouth was constantly vomiting blood. His eyes were bulging, and the sound of bones cracking could be heard. Everyone who witnessed this scene was dumbfounded. They looked at Li Changsheng in disbelief. Taoist priest Tai Xian was a finger-profound realm expert. He had killed Barbarian Niu with a single sword strike. But now, Li Changsheng had easily subdued him. He didn't even have the strength to resist. Not far away, Zhou recognized Li Changsheng from the Penglai Island camp. Her face was full of surprise. When she saved Li Changsheng at sea, she thought that Li Changsheng was just an ordinary disciple of the human race. She couldn't see how high Li Changsheng's realm was. She didn't expect him to be so strong that even Taoist priest Tai Xian, who was at the finger-profound realm, was no match for him. Now that she thought about it, Li Changsheng had used her to save him. Although Lei Xiao was strong, he had just broken through. He was definitely not as strong as Taoist priest Tai Xian. If he could easily subdue Taoist priest Tai Xian, Li Changsheng naturally didn't need to fear Lei Xiao. Friend, it turns out that you've been hiding your strength. We underestimated your strength. Please let go of Taoist priest Tai Xian. We will not rob you of your spirit stones, just like Elder Bai Cha. Xiao Fu was shocked when he saw Li Changsheng's strength. He didn't want to offend him, so he said this. He thought that he had taken a big step back. Yes, friend, you've been hiding your strength. We have offended you. Please let go of Taoist priest Tai Xian. The Saint Sound cultivator also said, let go of Taoist priest Tai Xian. We can get along peacefully and mind our own business. The red-robed purple cloud temple lord also said, Beside him was a flood dragon. It was the disciple of the White Flood Dragon clan that he had subdued. Brat, you humiliated me like this. I will remember this grudge. Taoist priest Tai Xian, who was lying on the ground, didn't have the slightest awareness of being a prisoner. In his opinion, in front of so many profound realm experts, Li Chongqing definitely wouldn't dare to kill him. At most, he would just injure him a little. For a cultivator, as long as he didn't die, it didn't matter how serious the injury was. He had nothing to fear. Boom, boom. In the next second, Li Chongqing's palm pressed down again. This time, the entire wooden floor collapsed. Half of Taoist priest Tai Xian's body directly fell down. Only his neck was stuck on the wooden floor. It was very comical. I'm going to kill you. Taoist priest Tai Xian finally had some space to move. The power of the giant sword in his hand suddenly erupted. It turned into a sword light and slashed towards Li Chongqing. However, no matter how powerful the sword light was, it was still useless when it slashed on the palm. It only made the palm shake slightly. Then, Li Chongqing's palm suddenly erupted with a terrifying power and slammed down. Stop! Seeing this scene, Xiahou Fu hurriedly shouted. No one expected things to develop to this extent. Taoist priest Tai Xian's mouth was unforgiving, and Li Chongqing actually wanted to kill him. Friend, if you kill him, you will fight to the death with us, the top 10 experts. Xiahou Fu shouted loudly. If you dare to hurt Taoist priest Tai Xian, I will definitely kill you. The Saint Sound cultivator also said sternly. Rumble. The other 7-finger profound realm experts stepped forward at the same time. The worship spread like a mountain. Everyone in the room felt this powerful pressure. I don't believe you dare to kill me. At this moment, Taoist priest Tai Xian was bleeding from his 7 orifices. His hair was disheveled, and he looked like a crazy demon. However, he was still laughing loudly. Li Chongqing didn't answer at all. His palm moved faster and faster, and finally landed on Taoist priest Tai Xian's body. Rumble! There was a violent explosion. The entire second floor collapsed. Under the palm, Taoist priest Tai Xian's body exploded and turned into a cloud of blood mist. Li Chongqing scooped up the dark steel greatsword and put it into his Chinquan bag. In the past, every time there was a big battle, the Dharma treasures would be destroyed along with the people. Only then did the auction house realize that they were embarrassed. He couldn't damage the giant sword again. Chapter 800. Rumble. A powerful aura arose from sword artist Shocking Dragon and Taoist Golden Cauldron as they locked onto Li Chongqing's position. The air in the entire precious treasure pavilion seemed to have condensed. The two of them were accumulating their power. Once they made their move, it would definitely be earth-shattering. Kid, you killed Taoist Tai Xian. Kneel down and accept your punishment. Perhaps I can spare your life. Taoist Golden Cauldron was enveloped in golden light. That small golden cauldron was constantly spinning and dropping down rays of light. The power of laws was surging. Although the small cauldron was only the size of a palm, its true weight was enough to destroy a mountain. Huh? Li Chongqing only smiled in disdain. Do you think you are so great after reaching the finger-profound realm? In my eyes, you're just slightly bigger ants. Although he is strong, he is too arrogant. I'm afraid he won't be able to escape death today. Zhouwan couldn't help but sigh. Previously, she had a short conversation with Li Chongqing on the sea and had a good impression of Li Chongqing. She didn't want to watch him die so miserably. However, she knew that she had no other choice. Even Bai Cha could only watch by the side. Who in the world would dare to offend so many finger-profound realm experts at the same time? Just as she was having complicated thoughts, Li Chongqing actually took the initiative to make his move. The heart-wishful sword turned into a sword light that pierced through the sky and directly pierced a hole in the roof of the precious treasure pavilion. It rushed into the clouds and then violently slashed down. The entire precious treasure pavilion was split into 2 under the sword light. Countless people on the scene dodged in all directions. Under the sword light, The entire island in the sea market was shocked. Under this terrifying sword light, the palm-sized golden cauldron above Taoist golden cauldron's head was instantly broken. This golden cauldron was known to be invulnerable. However, it didn't even last 3 seconds under the sword light. Crack! One could see that the small golden cauldron was instantly covered with cracks. Taoist golden cauldron's face turned pale as he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, this didn't stop. The sword light continued to press down, and the golden cauldron was completely turned into a pile of fragments. At the same time, Taoist golden cauldron was slashed into 2 from head to toe. SSS. Everyone who witnessed this scene sucked in a breath of cold air. Taoist Master Golden Cauldron was not someone who had just entered the finger profound realm like Taoist Master Tai Xian. Instead, he was a veteran finger profound realm expert. His mana was dense, but now he was actually killed by Li Changsheng with a single strike. The Dragon Sword artist didn't even have time to help. It was too fast, too fierce, and too powerful. Everyone was stunned. Bai Cha, who had been standing there calmly and watching with folded arms, had a look of disbelief in his eyes. Even Wei Shitong, Gu Shang, and the rest had lingering fear in their hearts. Thinking back to the day when Wei Shitong went to provoke Li Changsheng and was sent flying by the giant bone snake king, they were still very angry. Now that they thought about it, it was fortunate that Li Changsheng did not make a move at that time. Otherwise, a small ant like Wei Shitong would not be able to withstand a single slap from Li Changsheng. Watch my sword. It was then that the startling dragon swordsman finally reacted. The sword in his hand formed a line in the sky as it slashed towards Li Changsheng. The sword was condensed into a thread. This was an extremely high level of sword art. However, in the next second, Li Changsheng's sword light swept across. After slicing the startling dragon swordsman's sword light in half, Li Changsheng directly sliced him into 2 at the waist. Blood splattered across the sky. That was not all. After killing the startling dragon swordsman, the sword light moved again and aimed at the injured Householder Lianxin. Householder Lianxin tried to call for help, but it was a pity that he was completely turned into ashes by the sword, killing 3 finger profound realm experts in 3 moves. At this moment, the entire place was so silent that one could hear a pin drop. Everyone felt a deep chill. It was too terrifying. Was he still human? Even the legendary Earth Immortal Realm experts were only at this level. No one dared to underestimate Li Changsheng anymore, killing 3 finger profound realm experts in a single move. This combat strength was heaven-defying. Up until now, 4 out of the 10 rogue cultivators had died in the hands of Li Changsheng. It seems like I have underestimated you. The Temple Master of Purple Cloud stepped out. His aura vaguely locked onto Li Changsheng. Behind him, the white flood dragon let out a whimper. It was subdued by the Temple Master of Purple Cloud partly because it was afraid of the Temple Master of Purple Cloud's power and partly because it wanted to find a backer. The white-robed Saint Sound cultivator also stepped out. Although she was not young, she was still charming. In addition, Su Chao, Mu Wanshan, and Tong Xinghuan, a total of 5 finger profound realm experts, surrounded Li Changsheng. Other than the Precious Treasure Pavilion's pavilion master Xiaoho Fu, everyone else attacked. In the distance, Steward Wang Tong was trembling with fear. Who would have thought that the guest he led into the second Earth box was such a demon? Sigh. Friend, your combat strength is indeed powerful, but you will die here today. Originally, you could have left safely. Tong Xinghuan sighed. Based on the combat strength that Li Changsheng displayed, even the island master of 3 Deity Island could not compare to him. The surrounding people quickly retreated to a safe distance before stopping. The array in the Precious Treasure Pavilion had been broken and they had regained their freedom. However, none of them left. It was not an exaggeration to say that such a shocking battle was once in 1,000 years. Cut the crap. Come up and accept your death. Li Changsheng said indifferently. He raised his hand, and a crimson-red spear appeared in his hand. A violent aura spread out from his body. Scorching Dragon Spear. That's the Scorching Dragon Spear. I know his identity. The White Flood Dragon from the White Flood Dragon clan suddenly exclaimed and spoke in human language. As a member of the White Flood Dragon clan, how could he not know about their clan's heirloom? The Scorching Dragon Spear? However, as soon as he spoke, his words were drowned out by a loud explosion. Rumble! Li Changsheng directly raised the Scorching Dragon Spear and charged towards Tong Xinghuan, who was the strongest among the 5 people. To capture bandits, one must first capture the leader. As the Scorching Dragon Spear struck out, the void in its path began to shatter and turn into chaos. The earth trembled. Under the spear, it was as if heaven and earth were being split apart. Terrifying energy spread in all directions. Good timing. Tong Xinghuan was second only to Xiahou Fu among the 10-finger profound realm cultivators. His cultivation had already reached the late stage of the finger profound realm. He raised his fist and directly faced the Scorching Dragon Spear. He was going to block Li Changxing's attack with his physical strength. So you're a physical cultivator. No wonder you're so confident. Li Changxing's lips curled into a mocking smile. Under the Scorching Dragon Spear, Tong Xinghuan's fist had just touched it when his entire arm exploded into a bloody mist. He quickly retreated, his face full of shock. When did the physical cultivation technique that he was so proud of become so weak? The white-robed Saint Sound cultivator sat cross-legged in midair with a jade zither on her knees. As her fingers moved, invisible sound blades attacked Li Changsheng. Break! In response, Li Changsheng didn't even turn his head. He just shouted, and the countless sound blades shattered in the air. The Saint Sound cultivator, who was playing the zither, spat out a mouthful of blood, dyeing the zither strings red. Take this! The Purple Cloud Monastery Master, Su Chao, and Mu Wenshan, the 3-finger profound realm experts, attacked at the same time. The entire world rumbled. The 3 pillars of light, with completely different auras, actually merged into one in the sky and attacked Li Changsheng. It's actually a combination attack. The power of a few-finger profound realm cultivators merged into one. It was definitely not as simple as 1 + 1 is equal to 2. The terrifying energy caused even Xiahou Fu's expression to change. He muttered to himself, if such an attack can't hurt this person, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call him the #1 expert in the world. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Changsheng took out the Scorching Dragon Spear and faced the Purple Cloud Temple Master. Bang, 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 bang. A series of explosions shook the heaven and earth. The tremors were too terrifying. Even the spectators could feel their blood surging. The combined power of 3-finger profound realm cultivators was actually broken by Li Changsheng. Everyone felt their minds shaking. Even though they saw it with their own eyes, they still didn't dare to be confident. Manager Yang's legs were trembling. He looked at Manager Wang Tong and said, "What kind of demon did you summon? You have caused a lot of trouble for the Temple Master." At this moment, Wang Tong was already scared out of his wits. Even Bai Cha's body was stiff. However, the next scene made everyone's eyelids twitch. After breaking through the combined attack of the 3, Li Changxing swept out with the Scorching Dragon Spear in his hand. Su Chao, Mu Wenshan, the Saint Sound cultivator, and the Purple Cloud Temple Master all exploded in the air. At this moment, the Purple Cloud Temple Master finally heard the voice of his mouth. He is the Alliance head of the Demon Alliance. He is also the murderer of my White Flood Dragon race. It's actually him. This was the Purple Cloud Temple Master's last thought. In the next second, he saw his body exploding into a blood mist. Out of the 10-finger profound realm experts, only the Precious Treasure Pavilion Master, Xiahou Fu, was left. The smell of blood permeated the air. Li Changsheng stood on the spot and swept through everyone. He was like a god of war, invincible. Chapter 801. Li Changsheng's strength suppressed everyone present. He stood there like a god descending to earth. Other than the fierce wind brought about by the energy shock waves, there was no other sound. Everyone looked at the figure standing in the center, their hearts and minds trembling. The top 10 loose cultivators, other than Xiahou Fu, had all died in the hands of Li Changsheng. Such a battle record was simply earth-shattering and unheard of. It made people feel a chill in their hearts. For a moment, everyone felt that their minds were blank. It was too terrifying. Manager Wang Tong, Manager Yang Run, Penglai Islands by Cha, Zhou Wan, and the others didn't know how to describe the shock in their hearts. Now, do you have any objections to the ownership of those Chinquan bags? Li Changsheng's gaze fell on the only survivor, Xiahou Fu. He was the only one left among the top 10 profound finger realm experts. Now, he didn't have the calmness from before. What was left was only astonishment. Countless gazes fell on Xiahou Fu following Li Changsheng's words. They wanted to see how he would respond and what Li Changsheng would do next. I really didn't expect this. Bewitching old man sighed, thinking about how he had no choice but to submit to the joint attack of the top 10 loose cultivators, and compared to Li Changsheng, he blushed with shame. Xiahou Fu was the strongest among the top 10 loose cultivators. He was at the late-stage profound finger realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't be the leader of so many profound finger realm experts. However, everyone didn't think that he had any chance of winning. He had killed 9 loose cultivators consecutively. Such combat strength was probably at the half-step Earth immortal realm. Friend, I bet the reputation of the precious treasure pavilion to set up this trap. I didn't expect that you would almost break it. Xiahou Fu took a deep breath. The astonishment on his face gradually disappeared. Many of the people present had strange expressions on their faces, because Xiahou Fu said that he almost broke it, not that Li Changsheng had already broken it. Li Changsheng didn't say anything. He knew that Xiahou Fu hadn't finished speaking. In order to set up this trap, I sacrificed too much. I can't give you these Chinquan bags, but I can give you half. Why? Li Changsheng asked indifferently. Because this is Zhenbao Pavilion's territory. After Xiahou Fu finished speaking, he suddenly stomped his foot. Immediately, the ground began to tremble. Pillars of light appeared out of nowhere and connected to the sky. I admit that your strength is earth-shattering. You killed 9-finger profound realm cultivators in a row. Even the island master of the 3 immortal island can't do that. I, Xiahou Fu, have always thought of myself as a genius. But compared to you, just as you said, I'm just a slightly bigger ant. Beams of light connected the heaven and earth, and streams of aura rose continuously. Countless mists condensed in the sky to form various magical beasts. There were pagodas, golden cauldrons, incense burners, sabers, arrows, and spears. There were also various true dragons, immortal phoenixes, cheilants, and vermilion birds flying around. This was a peerless array formation. The moment the formation revolved, the entire island seemed to be cut off from the world outside. Xiahou Fu's presence fused with the formation, as if he had become the ruler of this world. What kind of formation is this? Everyone felt the change in the aura around them, and their faces were filled with shock. Among these people, many came from sects that specialized in formations and had a deep understanding of formations. However, this kind of formation that isolated the world and formed a small world of its own, involving the power of space rules, could already be called a divine formation. In the entire world, even the most powerful formation master couldn't set up such a peerless battle. No wonder Xiahou Fu is still so confident at this moment. It turns out that he set up such a shocking formation above the sea market. Bai Cha muttered to herself. She was already at the finger profound realm, but when the formation rose, she still felt insignificant. As for the other cultivators below the finger profound realm, their minds swayed and they couldn't control themselves. Although Xiahou Fu managed the treasure pavilion and was very strong, in this sea region, compared to the 3 immortal island and many of the demon clan's magnates, he was still far from the top. However, once this formation was set up, as long as it was within the range of this island, he would be the invincible ruler. Bewitching old man sighed with emotion. That young man thought that his strength was amazing and actually wanted to take all the magic treasures and spirit stones for himself. He didn't expect to be so clever and make Xiahou Fu use such a peerless formation. I'm afraid he's regretting it now. Just as many people were discussing, Xiahou Fu looked at Li Changsheng with a sneer. Friend, how's that? Now, do you know why? I'm afraid that even if I agreed to share the Chinquan pouches with you, you wouldn't really agree, right? Li Changsheng suddenly sneered. You could have used this formation long ago, but you waited until the 9 loose cultivators all died at my hands before you did. You didn't have any good intentions from the start and didn't want to share the treasures with the 9 loose cultivators. It just so happens that I helped you get rid of the future trouble. However, with your strength, you can't set up this formation, right? It's just that it was set up by our ancestors and you've obtained control of it. Hearing Li Changxing's words, Xiahou Fu laughed loudly. Friend, you're indeed very smart. I never thought of sharing the spirit stones with the 9 of them. This formation wasn't set up by me, but so what? The formation is now under my control. You're a turtle in a jar. After Xiahou Fu finished speaking, many people began to feel sorry for the dead Tong Xinghuan and the others. It turned out that they had been asking a tiger for its skin all this time. At the same time, many people looked at Li Changsheng with pity. With such great battle prowess, if they weren't on this island, he would be completely invincible. But now he might die here. Was this fate? Friend, with your battle prowess, you should be invincible. Unfortunately, you met me. When the formation was fully activated, Xiahou Fu's face was filled with confidence. Now, I can give you a chance. Open up your divine sense, and let me plant a restriction. Then, give me your cultivation method, and I'll spare your life. Xiahou Fu's voice rang out. His eyes flashed with passion. Li Changsheng had such great strength at such a young age. In Xiahou Fu's opinion, the cultivation method that he cultivated must be extraordinary. How could he not covet it? I'm afraid that if I give you my cultivation method, you'll kill me on the spot. Xiahou Fu, we're both smart people. Why you have to play this game with me? Moreover, do you really think that you have victory in your hands after activating the formation? It seems that you won't give up until all is said and done. Then, I'll show you the power of my formation. Xiahou Fu raised his hand. A red-crowned crane in the air let out a soft cry. Then, 2 sharp claws that seemed to be cast in black gold swiped down at Li Changsheng. Wherever the sharp claws passed, the space was constantly shattered. What great power! Many people trembled with fear. The power of a casual attack from this formation was no less than the Finger Profound realm. It was truly terrifying. Chapter 802. As the crane's claw fell, the void shattered. The claw, which looked like it was cast in black gold, seemed to have the power to destroy the world. Seeing this scene, everyone was deeply shocked. Li Changsheng sneered and slashed out with the heart's compliant sword, shattering the flying crane into pieces. There are many different kinds of arrays in the world. In my eyes, this array can only be considered as not bad. You won't cry until you see the coffin. Xiahou Fu was unmoved. He used all his strength to push the array. One after another, divine beasts condensed and rushed towards Li Changsheng. There were also all kinds of weapons that occupied half the sky. This array is terrifying. Every divine beast condensed is no weaker than the profound finger realm. With so many divine beasts, there are probably more than 100 of them. It's equivalent to more than 100 profound finger realm experts attacking at the same time. Bewitching Old Man, Bai Cha, and the others understood the power of the array. They were sure that if they were the ones facing the array, they would probably die after this wave of attacks. Xiahou Fu was able to master such a powerful array. Fortunately, he wasn't the one who set it up. Otherwise, no one in the world would be able to stop him. Total annihilation. Li Changsheng swung the heart's compliant sword in his hand. It turned into tens of thousands of sword lights that crisscrossed. Wherever the sword lights swept, the divine beasts and weapons would shatter, forming a sword domain. No attack could get close to him. So, you're a sword cultivator. Your swordsmanship is indeed powerful. It's a pity that you can't change your fate of death. Xiahou Fu was slightly surprised that Li Changsheng could block his attack, but at the same time, he sneered. Boom! Countless divine beasts were condensing in the sky, and in the middle of the divine beasts, a huge bone elephant was condensing. The moment the bone elephant was fully formed, waves of terrifying power came from the sky. It made one's mind waver and feel suffocated. Elder by Cha mumbled to himself. Could this be the legendary underworld elephant from the netherworld? Legend has it that the underworld elephant suppresses the 9 underworlds and devours thousands of souls. Only the emperor of the 9 underworlds, the ruler of the 9 underworlds, can suppress it. Although it is only an illusion now, its power is earth-shattering. Meanwhile, the surrounding weaker cultivators were all trembling. The power of the dark elephant was too strong. Even if it didn't attack them, it still made them tremble in fear and unable to control themselves. The appearance of this nether elephant was comparable to all the divine beasts in the sky. Rumble! The nether elephant looked up to the sky and let out a long howl. Its huge trunk was like a whip in the hands of a divine being. A casual wave of its trunk could cause the heaven and earth to tremble. The dark elephant was 6 stories tall. It had huge eyes, long tusks, and one of its legs was like a heavenly pillar. Its eyes emitted a scarlet glow as it raised its 4 legs and charged towards Li Changsheng. Every step it took caused the world to tremble. The surrounding people's faces turned pale, and they couldn't help but turn their heads to the side. Before such power, he couldn't think of how Li Changsheng would be able to block it. Even Elder by Cha had some pity in his eyes. A talent like Li Changsheng's was rare in the world. Yet, he was going to perish here. It was truly regrettable. As for the others, their minds were taken away by this nether elephant. They only felt that this was a power that shouldn't belong to the mortal world. Li Changsheng was going against such power. It was like a mayfly trying to shake a tree. He was simply courting death. Li Changsheng put away the heart-wishful sword and held the pure gold fiery dragon spear tightly in his hand. He looked up at the nether elephant that was charging towards him and muttered to himself, Fiery dragon spear, fiery dragon spear. You can absorb the blood of divine beasts and evolve continuously. You are the nemesis of divine beasts. I wonder if the divine beasts formed by this array formation are also your food. As soon as he finished speaking, the long trunk of the nether elephant had already come down with a roar. Rumble! The fiery dragon spear in Li Changsheng's hand finally pierced forward. Break! He softly spat out a word from his mouth. At this moment, the raging fiery dragon spear shone like a blazing sun. The shadow of a golden dragon roared and charged towards the nether elephant. In front of Li Changsheng, terrifying energy spread out in all directions like rolling waves. The center of the energy kept producing sounds of collisions. It was as if heaven and earth were going to be reopened and turned into chaos. In the next second, everyone's eyes were filled with horror. The 6-story-tall nether elephant's body kept breaking apart. The shadow of a golden dragon rushed towards Xiahou Fu with terrifying power. Xiahou Fu stood in the air. Countless divine beasts and weapons formed layers of defenses in an attempt to stop the golden dragon. However, they were all destroyed. In the end, the golden dragon slammed into Xiahou Fu's body. Xiahou Fu spat out a mouthful of blood. His body fell straight from the sky. Not only did this move break the attack of the nether elephant, but it also broke through the defense and severely injured Xiahou Fu. The golden dragon circled in the sky and flew back to the fiery dragon spear. Li Changsheng's attack was equivalent to killing a half-step Earth celestial stage powerhouse and hundreds of profound finger stage powerhouses. Everyone watching the battle was dumbfounded. Xiahou Fu was almost invincible with the power of the array. Even if the island master of the 3-deity island came, he would only die. But now, he was severely injured in such a way. It was simply unimaginable. Even Xiahou Fu himself found it unbelievable. He had refined the array for 10 years when he first discovered it. As his trump card, it was the first time he used it. In his opinion, with such an array in the sea market, no one in the world could hurt him. But just now he was almost killed. He had provoked such a terrifying enemy. "You must die today." Xiao Fu got up from the ground with his face covered in dust. His hair was disheveled, and he looked like a crazy demon. He knew that today was the only chance to kill Li Changsheng. Otherwise, once Li Changsheng left the sea market, he would be like an ant when he met Li Changsheng in other places. Moreover, Li Changsheng was so young. His strength would definitely increase in the future. After that, he could only hide in a dark corner like a rat crossing the street. That was definitely not a life he could endure. "You forced me to do this." Xiao Fu's messy long hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes were filled with cruelty and madness. The array in the sky kept surging. Finally, it condensed into a stalwart figure. The moment the figure appeared, everyone in the field couldn't help but want to kneel down and worship it. Even the Tao of heaven and earth kept trembling. This is just a phantom, but it has such power. The phantom that condensed was the famous nether elephant of the 9 underworlds. Could this man be the lord of Nether Prison, the legendary King Nether Emperor? Even Li Changxing's face couldn't remain calm. In ancient myths and legends, there were gods who ruled the world. Nether Emperor was the lord of the 9 underworlds. Even in the era of gods and demons, he was still a supreme giant. How terrifying! Could this be the phantom of the ancient Nether Emperor? This array is actually related to the famous Nether Emperor of the 9 underworlds. Apart from Li Changsheng, there were also many people who recognized the origin of the phantom formed by the formation and let out cries of surprise. Today, there were too many surprises. Li Changsheng had created miracles, and Xiao Fu's array was even more terrifying. Chapter 803. At this moment, as the phantom appeared, an aura that could suppress Chu Tian and all others descended. Li Changsheng was under the greatest pressure. The void around him kept shattering, and this was just the aura. Xiao Fu's eyes were filled with madness. Blood flowed from the corners of his mouth and eyes. It was obvious that he had paid a great price to summon this phantom. This was the greatest trump card of this formation, the Phantom of Emperor Ming. Even Xiao Fu didn't know how this formation was related to the ancient Emperor Ming. However, even if it was only a trace of the Phantom of Emperor Ming, it could easily kill a profound Finger Realm expert. Unless an Earth Immortal came, in his opinion, Li Changsheng would definitely die. "Kid, you forced me to do this. You're too strong. If you don't die, I'll live in fear forever." Xiao Fu's face was getting paler. The Underworld Emperor's phantom was getting more and more solid. This formation was too terrifying. Even if he could fully control it, he still had to pay the price of exhausting his essence qi. After this battle, he probably wouldn't be able to recover for decades. Many people looked at Li Changsheng with pity in their eyes. Li Changsheng was so powerful that he had a chance to reach the Earth Celestial stage. They didn't expect that he would encounter such a spell. In their opinion, Li Changsheng had no way to survive. The higher the cultivation, the more they felt the Underworld Emperor's phantom. Just a phantom was enough to slow down the circulation of the true essence in their bodies and suppress the entire world. The giant Bone Snake King was finally worried. Even though he had seen Li Changsheng kill the gold-armored heavenly demon, he still felt despair in the face of such a powerful formation. Rumble. The phantom finally became clear, but the face was still unclear. It was as if it was shrouded in chaos. However, the cold eyes made people's hearts palpitate when they looked at them. What a terrifying eye. One could imagine that if the Underworld Emperor himself came, he would probably be able to shatter mountains and rivers, crack the earth, and turn the universe upside down. A red light flew out from the eyes and attacked Li Changsheng. In an instant, Li Changsheng felt a great sense of danger. The surrounding void seemed to be imprisoned. Break! The ardent dragon spear swung, directly breaking through the power enveloping his body and colliding with the red light. Bang, 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 bang. Li Changxing's body swayed a few times, and the red light was shattered by the ardent dragon spear. A look of disbelief appeared in Xiahou Fu's eyes. He hadn't expected that Li Changxing would be able to block the attack of the Underworld Emperor's phantom. One had to know that the power of that red light was enough to instantly kill even a peak finger profound realm expert. He can't be at the Earth's celestial stage, right? Xiahou Fu didn't believe that Li Changsheng was in the Earth's celestial stage, but the uneasiness in his heart was getting stronger and stronger. So what if you're an Underworld Emperor? At this moment, Li Changsheng suddenly raised his head. The clothes on his body fluttered even though there was no wind, and a strong fighting spirit soared into the sky. In his divine soul, the fiend god was roaring, and the sound of a surging river was coming from his body. In the next moment, he raised the ardent dragon spear and soared into the sky, thrusting his spear at the Underworld Emperor Phantom. Good heavens! He actually took the initiative to attack the Underworld Emperor Phantom. He doesn't want to live anymore. The primeval Underworld Emperor's name shakes the 9 underworlds. Legend has it that he is an existence that can rival an immortal emperor. How dare he challenge the Underworld Emperor Phantom? Countless people exclaimed. The ardent dragon spear in Li Changxing's hand had already reached the Underworld Emperor Phantom, thrusting out with earth-shattering force. You're courting death. A cruel smile appeared on Xiahou Fu's face. The Underworld Emperor Phantom wasn't just the array's strongest technique. It was also related to an ancient taboo. Li Changsheng had blocked the red light, and Xiahou Fu wouldn't be able to use the Phantom again. However, if he took the initiative to attack now, it would only infuriate the existence in the underworld. Sure enough, the Underworld Emperor's Phantom raised its palm and pointed a finger at Li Changsheng, pressing down on him. At this moment, everyone felt something in their hearts. It was as if a supreme power had descended. So what if you're the Underworld Emperor? In front of me, Li Changsheng, my martial path has never been a match. The ardent dragon spear in Li Changxing's hand exploded with golden light. A golden sun lit up the entire sky and blasted the Underworld Emperor's finger away. The ardent dragon spear pierced into the Phantom, and the Underworld Emperor Phantom was instantly reduced to a pile of mist. This move was the strongest attack Li Changsheng could unleash with the ardent dragon spear. Even if an Earth Immortal were to descend, Li Changxing was confident that he could put up a fight. As far as he knew, this world didn't allow anyone above the Earth Immortal realm to appear. He guessed correctly. Although the Underworld Emperor Phantom was strong, it was more of an Emperor's aura that suppressed cultivators. Its true strength was limited to below the Earth Immortal realm. I'll remember you. As the voice fell, the Phantom gradually dissipated. Heaven and Earth fell into silence. The array that had just been activated also shattered the moment the Underworld Emperor Phantom disappeared. Xiahou Fu spat out mouthfuls of blood, his eyes filled with shock. You actually destroyed the Underworld Emperor Phantom. Xiahou Fu screamed in disbelief, not daring to believe it. Bai Cha, Bewitching Old Man, Zhou Wan, Umo, and the others were all dumbfounded. That was the Underworld Emperor from ancient legends. Even if it was just a phantom, since it appeared, it represented the peak strength of this world. But now it was actually destroyed by Li Changsheng. The most frightening thing was that Li Changsheng actually took the initiative to attack the Underworld Emperor Phantom without any fear. How terrifying was this kind of martial Dao conviction? Could that phantom be the will of the Underworld Emperor? If that's the case, I'm afraid he has already formed a grudge with the Underworld Emperor. The methods of the ancient giants are strange and unpredictable. Even if they are separated by endless space, they can still plot against him. If the Underworld Emperor has an inheritance in this world, it will most likely appear and hunt him down. Many people mumbled to themselves. In this vast sea where hundreds of races coexisted, there were many ancient secrets that were passed down. There were also many inheritances from the ancient times. Among them, there were many devil sects that worshipped the Underworld Emperor. The Underworld Emperor was already about to attack, but he actually took the initiative to attack. This kind of person is lawless. I don't even dare to imagine. Bai Cha commented. At this moment, Li Changsheng raised the ardent dragon spear in his hand and pointed it at Xiahou Fu. Xiahou Fu, what else do you have to say now? Without another word, Xiahou Fu turned and fled. His speed was inconceivably fast. The moment the Underworld Emperor Phantom was destroyed, he was burning his life force and blood. At this moment, he pushed his speed to the limit, fleeing for his life. However, Li Changsheng only sneered. The ardent dragon spear in his hand casually swung forward. No strange sounds could be heard. In the next moment, a scream rang out in the distant sky. A figure exploded in the air, and a mist of blood bloomed like fireworks. Li Changsheng's spear pierced through the void, crossing the distance to kill Xiahou Fu. Chapter 804. Immediately after, Li Changsheng gently raised his hand, and countless Chinquan bags appeared in his hand. Many people's eyes were burning. These Chinquan bags were handed over by them just now. They were definitely a huge amount of wealth. However, Li Changsheng didn't look at those Chinquan bags at all. He casually put them away, leaving only a ruler in his hand. The mountain and river ruler. The ruler was completely black, and there were illusory images of mountains and rivers carved on it. When Li Changsheng held it in his hand, he could feel the powerful energy contained in it. Although Xiahou Fu has obtained the mountain and river ruler, he has only refined dozens of layers of restrictions at most. He can't unleash the power of the mountain and river ruler at all. No wonder he didn't use it during the battle with me. Li Changsheng raised the mountain and river ruler, pointed at the sea in the distance, and struck out. At first, it was just an illusory image of a mountain that sank into the sea. However, the moment it completely smashed down, the sea within hundreds of miles boiled, and the small island shook continuously as if there was an earthquake. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. They didn't expect the mountain and river ruler to be so powerful. The same magic treasure in the hands of different people would have different powers. Moreover, the mountain and river ruler itself had definitely reached the level of a treasure. Li Changsheng put away the mountain and river ruler and then descended from the sky. It's over, Zhouwan muttered to herself. Zhouwan muttered to herself. Even now, she still couldn't believe what she was seeing. What happened today was too shocking and unbelievable for everyone present. There were many twists and turns, but in the end, Li Changsheng crushed them with absolute advantage. From today onwards, everyone would forever remember this name in their hearts. It was unforgettable. If news of this battle were spread, it would definitely shock the world. As for Elder Bai Cha, who had originally wanted to settle scores with Li Changsheng, he no longer had such thoughts at this moment. Not to mention him, even if the island lord of Penglai Island descended, he might not be a match for Li Changsheng. At this moment, Li Changsheng finally descended from the sky. Everyone looked at him with fear. Without his consent, no one dared to take half a step away. Li Changsheng's gaze finally landed on the people of Penglai Island. At this moment, everyone, including Elder Bai Cha, was on tenterhooks. Li Changsheng was too terrifying. Although they couldn't figure out how they had offended Li Changsheng, if Li Changsheng had a problem with Penglai Island, they would be finished. It was like an ordinary person standing in front of a ferocious tiger. Even if the ferocious tiger had no intention of harming people, it was still frightening. Mr. Bai Cha stuttered and cupped his hands. My name is Li Changsheng. You can call me Mr. Li, Mr. Li. Bai Cha hurriedly nodded. However, he saw that Li Changsheng's gaze finally shifted away from her and landed on Zhouwan, who was beside her. Miss Zhou, we meet again. Mr. Zhouwan didn't see any malice in Li Changsheng's eyes. In addition, she had saved Li Changsheng before. Therefore, she wasn't as scared as Bai Cha. She was just a little cautious. Mississippi Zhou, you helped me out at sea that day. You are a heroine. Hearing Li Changxing's words, Zhou couldn't help but blush. Previously, she also thought that she was a chivalrous person who would help others when she saw injustice. But now that she thought about it, there was no need for her to save Li Changxing. Why? Zhou, you know Mr. Li? Bai Cha's face was filled with surprise. We met once at sea, Zhou whispered. Zhou said in a low voice. Only then did her heart slowly relax. However, in the next second, she became anxious again. Elder Bai Cha, I heard that the island master of Penglai Island is participating in the myriad treasure meet. I have something to ask him. I wonder if he can bring me to see him. This, Bai Cha's face was filled with hesitation. Li Changxing's strength was too terrifying. If he had any ill intentions after meeting the island master of Penglai Island, wouldn't she be inviting a wolf into her house? Just as she was hesitating, she raised her head and saw Li Changxing's faint smile. Her heart skipped a beat. Only then did she understand her situation. Li Changxing was giving her face by being so polite. If Li Changxing directly ordered her, she wouldn't dare to refuse. Although she was at the mystic realm in front of Li Changxing, she was like a kitten facing a tiger. All right, no problem. Bai Cha lowered his head and asked, when will Mr. Li set off? The myriad treasure meet will be held soon. Of course, the sooner the better. But before that, I still have some things to do. After Li Changxing finished speaking, his body rose into the sky again. Then, he shot out beams of light in all directions. In an instant, strange-looking items flew up from all directions and gathered at Li Changxing's location. Since there was a peerless formation above the sea market, there must be something to set up the formation. Although the formation was broken by Li Changxing, the thing to set up the formation was still there. Many people looked at the item in Li Changxing's hand with envy in their eyes. Every single item was extraordinary. There was a total of 8 items, each with different functions. Li Changxing first kept them in his chinquin bag. Then, he pointed at the ground beneath his feet. A small banner slowly broke out of the ground. The moment this small banner appeared, a sinister aura instantly shrouded the small island. There was even a chilly wind blowing. It was actually a netherworld artifact. Li Changxing's face was filled with surprise and joy. Obviously, this small banner was the core of the formation. Li Changxing raised his hand and turned it into a giant palm print. In an instant, he picked up the small banner. At the same time, he activated the true essence in his body to refine it. In an instant, his body shook and the scene in front of him distorted. Then, he found himself in a sinister canyon. In the middle of the canyon, a black banner danced in the wind. Under the black banner was a middle-aged man in a black robe. He was looking at Li Changxing with a sinister expression. Audacious mortal, how dare you try to refine my soul-transforming banner? Now, kneel down and offer your soul. Become my slave, and I will spare your life. His voice echoed in the entire canyon. A powerful majesty rose in Li Changxing's heart, making Li Changxing kneel down. You're just a remnant soul left in the black banner. How dare you make me kneel down? Li Changxing abruptly raised his head, his eyes revealing a sneer. Audacious! How dare you look down on this sect master? The black-robed man roared. His body instantly grew to a size of 300 meters. He raised his foot and stomped down on Li Changxing. Break for me! Li Changxing was not afraid. He punched out and smashed the foot. This punch did not shake the man at all. How is this possible? This time, even Li Changxing's eyes were filled with shock. Huh! The man's complacent laughter echoed in the canyon. Puny mortal, you dare to offend the divine position. Die for me. Seeing that the foot was about to land, Li Changxing felt a sense of crisis. Chapter 805. No, this is an illusion, a spiritual world. My cultivation technique can't unleash its power at all. In an instant, Li Changxing had an epiphany, and a cold smile appeared on his face. The Jinwu god, slaying chapter, turned into a golden sword and slashed out. Boom! Boom! This time, not only the huge foot, but also the man's entire leg instantly exploded into a cloud of black mist. How is this possible? The man let out an incredulous scream. Li Changsheng, on the other hand, was indifferent. Once again, he pushed the golden sword, which turned into thousands of golden light beams, and slashed the middle-aged man's body. No! With a shrill scream, the middle-aged man was instantly cut into 8 pieces. How dare you hurt me? I'll remember you. With the last word, Li Changsheng suddenly recovered. With a flash, the whistling wind and surging spiritual energy appeared beside him, and he returned to reality. That should be the consciousness of the person who set up this formation. Fortunately, I have the Jinwu God-slaying chapter. Otherwise, I might have failed miserably. Even Li Changsheng had some lingering fear. At the same time, he felt as if his blood had merged with the black flag in his hand. After killing that afterimage, he had completely refined the small flag. With a gentle wave of his hand, countless black mists surged under the small flag. I can't tell the level of this dark artifact, and I don't know its function yet. I'll study it slowly in the future. Li Changsheng put away the black flag, looked at Bai Cha and the rest, and said, "All right, we can set off now." As Li Changsheng and the people of Penglai Island left the sea city, the battle on the island gradually spread, becoming the biggest news in the sea cultivation world. The peace that had been maintained for hundreds of years in the sea cultivation world was completely broken. The island master of Penglai Island left Penglai Island this time to participate in a myriad treasure meet. The myriad treasure meet was actually equivalent to a large-scale market, but the items sold were related to immortal cultivators. The scale was unprecedentedly large. As an elder of the Penglai Island, Bai Cha was naturally in contact with the Penglai Island Master. However, they had agreed to meet during the myriad treasure meet. She did not know the exact whereabouts of the Penglai Island Master at other times. Therefore, Li Changsheng and the others arrived at the venue of the myriad treasure convention early in the morning. It was an island that spanned several thousand kilometers. After Li Changsheng arrived, he locked himself in his room and studied the treasures he had obtained every day to refine the mountain and river ruler. However, this mountain river ruler had an unknown number of restrictions. Li Changsheng had refined it for 7 days, but he still hadn't completely refined it with more than 2,000 restrictions. This made Li Changsheng more and more excited. The more restrictions there were, the higher the grade of the mountain and river ruler. On the 8th day, Elder Bai Cha knocked on the door to Li Changsheng's room. "Mr. Li, the myriad treasure meet has begun today. Our island master should be arriving soon." "All right, I'll take a look around and see if there are any treasures." Li Changsheng put away the mountain and river ruler in his hand and went out with Bai Cha and the others. At this moment, the island was completely different from when they first arrived. All kinds of powerful auras were constantly rising, gathering in the sky to form all kinds of strange phenomena. Even the clouds were scattered. When they walked out of the inn, they were densely packed with cultivators from both the human and demon races. Many of them were powerful, and Vajra realm experts could be seen everywhere. This myriad treasure convention is a grand event held in the sea every few decades. Most of the cultivators in the sea will come to participate. Bai Cha explained to Li Changsheng. Through these days of interaction, she could see that Li Changsheng was the kind of person who was easy to talk to as long as one didn't provoke him. He was not as fearful of Li Changsheng as before. "Have you heard that a young expert appeared in the sea market of the East Sea and killed 10 profound finger realm experts in a row? He's known as the strongest expert in the world." "I've heard the news too, but it's really hard to believe. A person who fought against 10 profound finger realm experts alone. Could he be an Earth immortal?" The news has been confirmed by many forces. It shouldn't be fake. Along the way, Li Changsheng heard a lot of discussions about himself. Bai Cha and the others looked at Li Changsheng with a complicated gaze. Who would have thought that this ordinary-looking young man was now a supreme expert whose name could shake the sea within tens of thousands of miles? If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't believe it. The giant bone snake king followed Li Changsheng without saying a word. The yellow ox was led by him and attracted a lot of attention along the way. The yellow ox had seen many big scenes with Li Changsheng. Now, it could still remain calm in the face of countless powerful cultivators on the island. Buy whatever you like. Li Changsheng casually threw out 2 Qingquan bags. There were no less than 400,000 spirit stones inside. This was a huge sum for any force. However, Li Changsheng didn't care at all. The Qingquan bags he obtained from the sea market had a few million spirit stones. Li Changsheng was so rich now that he could stand shoulder to shoulder with a super force. Thank you, Master. The giant bone snake king kept the spirit stones respectfully. Bai Cha and the others were envious when they saw this scene. Elder Bai Cha, we finally found you. At this moment, a surprised voice was heard. A delicate and pretty girl walked over quickly. Behind her were 3 female disciples. Zhouan, Wei Shitong, you guys are here too? The girl seemed to have a cheerful personality. Miss Qingyu, since you are here, the island master must be here as well, right? The girl's name was Gu Qingyu. She was the daughter of the Penglai Island's island master. After she appeared, even Bai Cha didn't dare to put on airs. My father met an old friend on the way, and we were catching up. He will probably be a little late. I was bored staying with him, so I came to the sea market in advance. I didn't expect to see you guys as soon as I arrived. After saying that, Gu Qingyu looked at Li Changsheng, who was standing at the side with a puzzled expression. He is Mr. Li Changsheng. He has something to ask of the island master. Bai Cha hurriedly explained. After Gu Qingyu heard Bai Cha's words, she hurriedly pulled Bai Cha to the side. Elder Bai Cha, my father doesn't like to be disturbed by others. You should know that. If you let this person go and see my father, I'm afraid my father will be unhappy. I know. However, this person must meet the island master. As for the specific reason, I will tell you later. All right. Gu Qingyu nodded. She looked at Li Changsheng with even more curiosity. With the addition of Gu Qingyu and the 3 Penglai Island disciples, Li Changsheng's group instantly grew stronger. In addition, they were all beauties. No matter where they went, they would attract a lot of attention. It's so lively over there. Gu Qingyu suddenly pointed to the front and said. Li Changsheng and the others looked in the direction she was pointing at. Indeed, there were many people in front of them. Let's go and take a look. Gu Qingyu had already walked over quickly. When Li Changsheng and the others approached, they saw an old man setting up a stall to sell a refining furnace. The furnace was completely black, with 3 legs and 2 handles. There was a round lid on top of the furnace, and there was still a flame burning inside. The grade of the furnace wasn't too high, but the material it was made of was extraordinary. It was a strange type of meteorite. It can make fire by itself. If this furnace is refined by a brilliant method, I'm afraid its grade will be much higher than this. Li Changsheng instantly made a judgment and asked, how much is this furnace? 100,000 top-grade spirit stones. The old man said lightly. Obviously, he knew that his furnace was extraordinary. The price was not low. As soon as they heard the other party's price, many people who were originally interested in this furnace retreated. Although it was good, not every cultivator had such purchasing power. Can it be cheaper? I'll buy it for 80,000 top-grade spirit stones. Li Changsheng was very interested in the furnace. Even if the price was higher, he would buy it. However, bargaining was basic knowledge when buying things. Of course, it was good to spend less. Although the refining material of this furnace was good, there were very few people who could upgrade it. Otherwise, the old man would not sell it. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, the old man hesitated and said, 90,000 top-grade spirit stones. This is the lowest price. Take it if you want. Li Changsheng was also a straightforward person. He immediately took out 90,000 spirit stones and handed it to the old man. After the old man confirmed that there was no mistake, he was just about to take the furnace when suddenly a voice sounded, "Wait a minute. This furnace is good. I want it." The speaker was a big man. When he stood up, Li Changsheng's face showed a bit of surprise. It turned out to be the powerhouse of the one-legged ox tribe, Lei Xiao. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.